Anyway, let's get to Epstein. Speaking of Israel, let's get back to Jeffrey Jebediah Epstein and our big, beautiful boy, Donald Trump, who is seemingly very upset that people keep asking about Epstein. People keep asking about Epstein. Okay. Do you feel like this is a distraction from Epstein? No. Here's another effort post from Donald Trump on Truth Social. It reads as follows. The radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again, just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, the lying 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from which the Dems swore had nothing to do with Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. And even the Russia scam itself, a totally fake and made-up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in the 2016 presidential election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They are no good at governing, no good at policy, and no good at picking winning candidates. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. He's trying so hard to make fetch happen, bro. This is so funny. He's like, come on, guys. It's the new hoax. Trust me on this. Okay? Yeah, we're all calling it that. Everyone's calling it behind the scenes. You're calling it that too. You're calling it that. And if you're not calling it, you're bad. You're wrong. Okay? And my past supporters have bought into this. Ooh, he's being bad. Hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will. Even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years, I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history. And all these people want to talk about with strong prodding by fake news and the success-starved Dems is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, which everyone is calling it that. Everyone is calling it the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. If I see you calling it something else, I'll get very mad. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. It is pretty funny that he hasn't been able to figure out a way to like get out of this narrative hole. Okay. And as a consequence of that, he's even losing like Tim Pool, which is a Israel and Russia crony. But I guess Tim Pool also knows which way the wind is blowing, or maybe he didn't get his notes from the Israeli state. Once he gets his notes from the Israeli state, perhaps he will change his tune. Ukraine is the enemy of the world.
Trump is miserably screwing this up, unless for some reason this was his intent. This one's hurting the Trump team, his base, very much so. You're not going to get out of this one with Trump supporters, prominent individuals being like, guys, let's just trust the plan here. That ain't happening. And there are ways to handle this, and this ain't it. With this massive post by Trump, it's getting bad. Trump
I love what a chatter said about getting a taste of Democratic medicine where the base gets nothing they want. And even now, we see the same. Now Republicans saying, stop spoiling. Just be happy with what you have. Yeah. Peak Alex Jones here. Oh, yeah. Alex Jones responds to Trump excommunicating him. You're not the Pope, bro. Wait, where is it?
About 50. A jellyfish has a higher IQ, in case you didn't know, than 50. Some of the 50 IQ can barely form words. It's a no-brainer, Trump, that you want this to go away because you know they've spiked the file. I believe it. That makes sense. God, it's totally intuitive. There it is.
He's still trying to glaze Trump. Is so funny. He's like, Donald Trump is trying to excommunicate me for being a brave truth info warrior, but it's all right. I know that Donald Trump, Mr. President, was not involved directly in this. Okay, AlexJones.com, Infowars.com.
I'm bad for saying you should stop telling people to shut up. Again, you're 10 years old. Your parents are going to church. They say you don't have to go today. And they say, whatever you do, don't go look in the Chester drawers in front of the bed. My parents never did that. It's just hypothetical. Where are you going as soon as their car drives off? You're going to see what's in there. I mean, this is sick. This is bizarre. And I will not take the blame, Trump, for what you're doing to yourself. So I know you tried to take the alcohol away from your older brother, who was a great guy, who drank himself to death.
Ooh.
Were you a bad person?
Ooh, he's getting personal with it.
Telling your brother he was killing himself? No. Your brother got mad at you. You talked about it.
That's crazy. He's talking about Trump's alcoholic brother who died. God, it's getting spicy over here, brother. Holy moly.
I am trying to get you to take the political gun out of your mouth. You already blown both your feet off. And now you got it shoved in your mouth. I'm like, will you please take that out of your mouth? You're like, shut up. Don't talk about it. You have put the gun in your mouth and ours collectively. Stop it. Stop it.
You're up the bag for us, Mr. President. Why are you doing this? Dude, this is like cinema, okay? This is cinema. It's playing out exactly as I said it is. There is like this is the first time where there's like a real genuine fissure in the base, and Trump cannot consolidate support for the life of him. And basically this is where you find out who is like a hatchet man for the Republican base, or for the Republican Party, and of course is Trump's party, so Donald Trump, and who is more invested in leaning into narratives that the majority cares about. In the past, we didn't really get to experience this kind of fissure amongst the quote unquote supposedly independent media outlets, with the exception of, I guess, Israel, because Ben Shapiro's writing of Israel definitely got out of hand, and it pissed off a lot of people, but in the Republican base. But outside of that, usually Trump gives everything in the culture war stuff, in the culture war side of things, to his base. He always gives them the treats. So no one in the independent side of the Republican media apparatus has ever had trouble saying that they're independent while simultaneously defending Trump. This is a moment where he's not doing that. He's actually directly at odds with the popular support from the base of the Republican Party, from the MAGA base. So you're recognizing who is actually a loyal servant of Trump, and by extension the Republican Party, and who is more so invested in repeating whatever the base wants. Alex Jones is in the middle. On the one hand, he is still desperately trying to cling on to Donald Trump. On the other hand, he recognizes what the people want, what his audience wants, what the base is demanding. And at this point, they'll still talk about how big of a failure this is for Trump, how he's it up, how he's this up. It's just a mistake. But eventually this is going to boil. Eventually this kind of tension is going to lead to people actually separating from Donald Trump aggressively. And these are some of the most insane people, okay? These are some of the craziest people out there. They have an arsenal of weapons, and they believe in whatever kind of conspiracy, some real and some totally insane and fake. You don't want to piss these off. Donald Trump has had numerous attempts on his life. 2 of those attempts were conducted by a registered Republican and a former Trump voter. Ryan Ruth, big-time NATO Andy for sure, but literally was a former Trump voter. You don't want to piss these guys off. You don't want them to do a Pizzagate to you, okay? I'd be very careful if I was a famous Republican media personality that is aggressively defending Donald Trump here at a time when there is unprecedented anger and resentment directed at Trump. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, you don't want Pizzagate to turn into Mar-a-Lago Gate. Let's take a look at what Megyn Kelly is saying on the other hand.
As Trump has managed to call large portions of the MAGA base that are still interested in Epstein and want answers selfish weaklings. He doesn't want their support, and that they're believing in a Democrat-created hoax. There's all sorts of, substantive responses to that on the Epstein merits, but I'm not interested in that for now. I'm interested in the politics of it, Rich.
Yeah. So he's in the phase he often is in when he's in the midst of these controversies. I think spaghetti against the wall phase, and then he'll see what sticks, and then go with that. But I don't think it's a great idea to make the connection to the Russia hoax, which was about him. So this kind of implies that this also is about him. I don't think it really is. And the idea that he doesn't know where this is coming from, and it was all created by Democrats, this has been more of a matter of interest for the right, including the highest officials in his Justice Department, right? Pam Bondi talked about it. Kash Patel talked about it. Bongino talked about it.
What we
Yep. He's basically, by the way, he's literally saying what I said yesterday, which is that he's pulling almost like an Israel route by not reading the room appropriately. This won't actually cause people in his base to go, oh, this is fake, just like the Russia hoax was fake. It will cause them to go, wait a minute, this is real. So does that mean the Russia hoax wasn't a hoax at all? I don't think that they'll make that logical leap, okay? But like, it's not working. My point is, it's not working because obviously this is a very important thing for a lot of people in his base, understandably so. This is the one time where they're like they're kind of on the money with this conspiracy. So when are you interviewing Lina Khan? I don't know if you know this, but I already have.
President Trump, would you consider appointing a special counsel to investigate the Jeffrey Epstein investigation?
I have nothing to do with it.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Why would you say it like that? Why would you say it like that? What a wild thing to say. Also, I mean, we already talked about this, but like, this was really funny. Guy who absolutely despises Donald Trump, an incredibly prominent critic of Donald Trump, only turns around and like speaks in favor of Trump to defend the Epstein client list, and it not existing. The Epstein client list is real. So is the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus, says Stephen King. Prominent Trump critic Stephen King only comes out to say something that's like ostensibly pro-Trump when Trump's base is yelling at him over the Epstein list not being revealed. Then he goes, boy, I hit a nerve with that Epstein post. The list is like UFOs. Everyone knows someone who's seen one. Oh boy. Oh brother. Oh, how odd. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. What does that mean? I mean, I think I know what that means. If you know the ending of the book, it's not shocking. Did Epstein traffic young girls? Yes, of course. Is there a client list? Doubtful. Conspiracy fodder. He is still talking about it. He's still talking about it. That's weird, man. That's weird. Why are you... See, the thing I don't understand is like, these guys could just keep quiet. I mean, that's literally what the Clintons did, right? The Clintons just kept pushing. They never, you will never catch them talking about Epstein's unless it's directly talking to Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell in one of their numerous and I guess exciting experiences that they had together. Okay. I don't understand why these come out and they're like, guys, by the way, this thing that everyone knows is very real. This thing that everyone is broadly aware of. I just want everyone to know, yeah, it's fake. Actually, it's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. Please stop asking further questions. Like at least the Clintons, who were directly involved with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, knew better than to constantly talk about it. To be fair, TrueAnon also says the client list is fake. Like he didn't keep a list. If there's one list, is a list of all the people on tape. Yes, the Jeffrey Epstein client list is basically just like, that's just semantics, okay? That is just a semantics argument. I don't engage in it because it's stupid. When you're talking about that, you're not talking literally that like Jeffrey Epstein had all of the clients and like what kind of underage person was trafficked with every single client on one neatly put together list. When people are talking about it, or at least when I'm talking about it, I'm referencing verifiable evidence of the people that we know have been directly involved with Jeffrey Epstein and to what extent their involvement was with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? That's what I'm referencing. No, the little black book is not the client list. Those are just people who he had the information of and has been in contact with. Okay? That's it. When people are looking for evidence, or when people are looking for like the client list, they're actually referencing like the extent of the involvement with people that we know of and people that we don't know of but suspect of being involved with Jeffrey Jebediah Epstein. Doors open. Kaya's back from her spa day. Oh. Coming through the main gate. Lobo says Matt Gaze would be good as special counsel investigating the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up, which I think is really interesting that she's saying that. I feel like he'd be the worst, but what do I know? Here is a reporter asking Trump straight out if it asked Pam Bondi to release more Epstein files.
Will you ask Attorney General Pam Bondi to release more documents to finally put this controversy to bed?
You know, whatever's credible, she can release. If a document is credible, if a document's there that is credible, she can release. I think it's good. But it's just a subject. He's dead. He's gone, and all it is the Republicans. Certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook. And no different than Russia, and all the other hoaxes. They're started by the Democrats, and some Republicans. In this case, I was surprised, but they got duped.
But have you talked about it? Have you talked about it with her the last witness?
President, first of all, your high-ranking officials, whether it's been your FBI director or Pam Bondi, they have made some inconsistent statements in the past. You've had.
Well, I don't know. I can't speak about him, but I can say that Pam Bondi, I really think that she's done very good. She says, I gave you all the credible information. And if she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that? I mean, honestly, what more can she do? And we do have bigger problems. You know, we have problems with millions of illegal people that came in here, and they're killers and murderers. We have 11,888 murderers that were allowed into our country by Biden, sleepy Joe Biden, stupid Joe Biden. He allowed them into our country. And you know what? We got to do something about it. She's got a lot of things she's working on. And, you know, it's very sad that somebody can be waylaid, that just get waylaid. But I think she's doing a great job, President.
In your truth section this morning,
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen of that?
It's not the Attorney General, no. I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters, and Comey before him. And
for those of you who are consistently asking the question, why wouldn't he just release a client list with like fake names on it and like implicate the Democrats? Because this is bipartisan, okay? Unlimited support to Israel is bipartisan, and billionaires doing getting involved in an elite pedophile sex trafficking ring is also bipartisan. So you can't just like the liberals involved without yourself. That's it. As I've said before, this is the mutual assured pedophilia, mutually assured destruction in the form of pedophilia and involvement with an elite pedophile sex trafficking ring. That's it. That's it. That's why he can't just like cynically say, oh, this is just the liberals, even though they did say it. They did say it over and over again, but not that this was even a factor, but it's not like his base would have believed it if it came out while Biden was president. That's not, I mean, it wouldn't have ever happened because of the things that I just mentioned, because everyone is involved in this, right? Liberals and specifically like liberal elites and also Republican elites. These guys, also the very same guys, fund both parties. It's not like they are truly on one side. Both parties, to a certain degree, represent their interests. And therefore, these guys will hedge their bets. These guys will fund both sides.
And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking.
He really thinks like hitting this line is gonna drum up support. Like it's as though, like, for example, here I'll give you areas where it could potentially pick apart some in the base. Like if he was talking about Israel, right? he can just like kind of get some of the people who are already like motivated to defend Israel in the most in the most pro-Israel part of his bases, like the evangelical Zionists specifically. He could always be like, yep, that's right. The Democrats, they're Palestinian. Chuck Schumer's Palestinian. They love Palestine. They love Hamas, right? Like he could do that, and then maybe some would be like, yeah, that's right. Because like this is not that in the order of priority. Like Trump stopping wars is not as high as a priority as like the Epstein stuff is. Okay, this is directly something that he promised, and something that like many of his boosters promised, something that many of his boosters care about. Okay, and for him not to he thinks he can like hit this on a partisan angle and be like, oh, this is just a hoax, when it's like, well, okay, you said the hoax over and over again. You were saying that this wasn't a hoax before you got elected. Now that you're in charge, like all of a sudden it's a hoax. Get the fuck out of here.
Candidates that can get elected, like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. Takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman. Yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy.
The best part about it is that the more media asks him about this, the more he has to talk about it. And the more he talks about it and deflects away from it, the more people get angry and agitated in his base of support, especially.
Who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like Trump thinks his base is stupid.
Why'd they say?
Channel 4 is getting involved. Talking about Trump says Epstein case is a scam, lashing out at his supporters.
Thousands of hours of tapes of people doing horrible shit. Why'd they say that?
Right.
Didn't Pam Bondi say that?
We are going to try to get to the bottom of what's knowable now that they're telling us there's no there there. I mean, for me, that's just a red cape in front of a bull.
The MAGA movement in a civil war.
Ladies and gentlemen, our president.
Normally,
I love seeing the one thing that the Trump base does unironically and actively care about, to a degree where like they might even drop support of Trump over. Okay, respect. Like I'll take it. I'll take anything at this point.
Failingly loyal allies of President Trump, angry and suspicious of his backtracking.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
all right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would.
Now, after tantalizing his supporters throughout the campaign, he's changed his tune.
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going.
Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson disagrees.
It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything.
Yeah, they voted to not release it, like himself included. The f do you mean? Oh, they should release it. Like this is again a thing that people do actually legitimately care about. Okay, which is precisely the reason why when these guys actually do the Democratic Party move, because they're behaving like the Democrats. They're behaving exactly like the Democrats. Good things are not possible. The things that we ran on, it's not happening. Okay? That's precisely what's happening here. And the base is like, what do you mean? This is the thing that you actually do. You don't do this kind of shit. This is why we trust you. This is why we believe you. What the hell is going on? Johnny MAGA. Riley Gaines says, was it stupid and foolish when he campaigned on releasing the files? Are Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, Bongino, and Alina Habba all foolish and stupid for peddling this for the past 6 months? Why on earth is he doing this? I love this, man. I love this. God, I'm sorry. This is crack for me, okay? It's crack for me, not because, like, I love standing here and being like, I told you so. It's crack for me because I do think that this is this is like finally a real recognition amongst this like actual cult-like fandom that perhaps Trump is also deep in the pocket of elite pedophiles in the same way that every other administration has been. Perhaps this is a watershed moment for a lot of people to go, wait a minute, he's not different at all. He's just like them. There's endless potential in this kind of volatility for people to be corrected, to recognize that like this is actually, we are all united on class interests. Cenk was right. No, Cenk said this over wars, which I disagree with. I don't think that is it has caused a major fissure in the base. Nothing like the Epstein stuff. Come on, man. Come on now, man. Surely Trump is in the pocket of elite pedophiles. Surely he is their pocket, their change, their handler, all of the above. Yeah, like this is unique because like, look, Republicans will make promises and they will make good on those promises. Now, the impact of that legislative agenda might be devastating in the long run, right? And people might realize that the things that they voted for, they might not enjoy or appreciate. Like in the case of abortion, for example, we saw that play itself out. We're seeing that with the immigration raids that are taking place right now. A lot of people don't like it. And they're like, oh, I didn't vote for this. It's like, well, you did, right? But this is one of those things where like he has directly promised something and has all the power to release it, all the power to make good on that promise, and is refusing to do so in a way that is inviting a lot of suspicion with Trump's personal involvement. Because if he is an anti-establishment figure that many people voted for him on those boundaries, all of a sudden he comes across as maybe not an anti-establishment figure. Maybe he is the establishment. Because for a lot of these people, especially in the Trump base of support, they see, oh my God, my mom. Anne? Ben daha sonra gidiyorsun zannediyordum. Okay, for a lot of these people, this is perhaps the best way to spell whether you're with the establishment or against the establishment with the Trump with the Epstein stuff. Epstein is seen as like a placeholder for class warfare. It's seen as like a thing that liberals do, or a thing that like elites in society do, mostly liberals from the perspective of the Trump base, obviously. And finally, this is supposed to be unearthed. Like this is their only way of seeing some semblance of class warfare is basically through the lens of conspiracy. And of course, with respect to the Epstein stuff, it's not really a conspiracy theory so much as it is just a real conspiracy to do a blackmail operation for at the behest of intelligence agencies, including the Mossad and also the CIA. So this is a direct line of attack against like why someone who is like anti-establishment would vote for Donald Trump. All of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, you are pro-establishment then.
Out there and let the people decide it.
With even his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, unhappy.
Well, I do think that there needs to be more transparency on this.
But Trump's Attorney General, Pam Bondi, isn't on board.
Not going to talk about Epstein.
A memo published by her Justice Department said they found no incriminating Epstein client list, despite Bondi herself claiming it existed in February.
And one of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
For Trump's often conspiracy-prone MAGA base, the confusion is sparking concern and consternation after Elon Musk alleged Trump himself was in the files, which would be unsurprising given the pair's long history. It's unclear when Trump first met Epstein, but in 2002, Trump told New York Magazine he was a terrific guy he'd known for 15 years, which would date back to the late 1980s. Video was discovered showing Epstein partying with Trump at his Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach, Florida in 1992. The pair watch and point at cheerleaders dancing. In the background of the video is Epstein's close associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. Throughout the 90s, Trump, Epstein and Maxwell attended parties together in New York and Palm Beach, where Epstein kept a residence, famously visited by Prince Andrew. Flight logs previously released by the Attorney General Pam Bondi showed Trump, his then-wife Marla Maples, and daughter Tiffany frequently flew on Epstein's private jet. In Epstein's black book, 14 different numbers for Trump, his close family and staff were found. Epstein claimed that in 1998 he introduced Trump to his third wife Melania at a party in Manhattan. In that 2002 New Yorker magazine article, Trump famously described his friend as a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life.
Dude, I said this already when Bob Woodward was coming out with his like massive Epstein connection with Donald Trump is like way, way bigger than we previously thought, reporting right up until the election. And the Democrats were noticeably quiet about it. I knew why they were quiet about it, because of the Clintons. Because of the Clintons. This, like, unironically, if this was a conversation alongside this exact same coverage was being shepherded by the Democrats, alongside Kamala Harris, like, making inroads with the pro-Palestinian movement, the election could have turned out very differently, straight up. But they didn't want to do it, obviously, because clearly it's their own donors are involved with Jeffrey Epstein. They didn't want to upset or offend their own donors that they love. Okay?
But in 2004, Trump and Epstein's relationship reportedly broke down over a Mar-a-Lago property deal. A year later, Florida police began investigating Epstein in relation to sex trafficking. In 2008, he was convicted but negotiated a plea deal granting him immunity from federal prosecution after pleading guilty to state charges of soliciting prostitution. Ever since, Trump has sought to distance himself and downplay his relationship with Epstein. In 2019, Epstein was facing federal charges of sex trafficking minors when he died by suicide while in custody in New York. This week, questions have emerged over the integrity.
Under the Trump administration, by the way, under the watchful eye of the Trump administration, where he died under mysterious circumstances that the government quickly ruled as suicide, I don't believe that.
Of the CCTV around the time of his death. Dan Bongino, now Trump's deputy FBI director, was one of many right-wing influencers who made vast amounts of Epstein-related content.
Does it have anything to do with the extensive video network alleged to have existed on his island and on his plane?
He's reportedly angry at the administration's U-turn in releasing the files and has threatened to resign.
USA! USA!
For Trump, who benefited from fueling conspiracy theories like birtherism and QAnon in the past, he may be facing consequences himself with his base for having engaged in the Epstein speculation, given his own history. Well, joining us now to discuss all this is Robert Topinka, senior lecturer at Birkbeck School of Creative Arts, Culture and Communication. Robert, why have the Epstein files captured the imagination of MAGA?
Well, the Epstein files have become this sort of respectable way for MAGA supporters to refer to the QAnon conspiracy theory and tap into the energy from that conspiracy theory, this idea.
Yeah, except unlike QAnon, this is not fake. That's the difference. Like, with QAnon, this is the other side of, like, the liberal conversation here, where they're like, haha, I told you so, right? Like, if you... Yeah, leopards eating your face, huh, Donald Trump? You, like, trafficked in a lot of conspiracies, so now look what the conspiracy crowd is doing to you. And it's like, it's not. This is not like a phony, insane conspiracy theory in the way that QAnon is. That's the difference. The night he died, we had to cancel a show with Chapo in Brooklyn because the venue flooded. There were cars floating down the street. It's all connected. Trump controlled the weather to cover up our truth. Oh, yeah. Trump didn't want you guys to do it.
Yeah, that Democrats were behind a corrupt system of child sex trafficking. Epstein became sort of the figurehead for that movement, came to be identified with that movement. And throughout the campaign, Trump officials, Trump himself, J.D. Vance, Dan Bongino, the deputy director of the...
I'm gonna be honest. I said this already. I didn't think that this was ever going to... I didn't think this was ever going to be released regardless. For the reasons why it's not being released right now, obviously, evidently. But the way that the liberals are trying to message and use this, I think they're doing it because they know it'll never be released. I think they know that Trump will never release this, like any sort of evidence that was unearthed and discovered. And that is precisely the reason why they can posture. That's why you have Kevin Spacey, Alan Dershowitz, people who are directly affiliated with Jeffrey Epstein, coming out and comfortably making these sorts of statements, knowing full well that Donald Trump is never going to release it. That's why the very same Democrats that never made a big deal about the Epstein files when they were in charge are now using it as an opportunity to hit against the Trump administration, even though there is obviously this is the Democrats presenting this as a way to troll, quote unquote, the MAGA base is going to be short-lived. Look, scoop, internal Dems are polling from Blue Rose and Future Forward Memo explain why Dems are trolling GOP hard on Epstein. It's a way into maybe this guy doesn't have your back, and that's been one of the hardest things for Dems to do. But the opening may be short-lived. Democratic strategists said they do not expect Epstein-related conspiracies to show up in their TV ads or dominate the party's midterm messaging, with the GOP mega bill likely to take center stage. I'm focused on the damage that the one big bad bill is doing, and I'm going to stay focused on that, said Representative Brad Schneider, chair of the centrist New Democrat Coalition. And if the president's covering up something, I'll let him deal with that. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to focus on the damage of the big bad bill. Okay. I think that's a good thing, because it's true. That bill is going to rip apart families. It's going to destroy the working class base of support that Trump has in rural communities. Okay. But there is no reason not to use this as well. And I think they're basically signaling that they're not going to, they're going to hit this line. Also pretty funny that they only finally went after Clinton associate because Shore's fuck-ass firm said so. I imagine that being an unstoppable force versus an immovable object situation for them. The real big part of the story is that the FF/Blue Rose seemed to be dictating Dem messaging despite playing a leading role in the loss. Either the speculation that they'd lose clout was overblown, or the CYA stories about how they wanted to focus on the economy worked. You can do both, okay? You can have your cake and eat it too. You can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. They should not let go of the Epstein stuff, and they should actually push to release these files. Not only because it's like a cynical calculation to rip apart Trump's base and sever ties with as many people from the Trump's base as possible, but also because, simultaneously still talk about the big bad bill too. Wow, a rare Hassan W take. If you think this kind of take is rare, then you've only watched me through the lens of haters. I do love when people actually do come in like global events that they care about, where they come in and join the chat, and for the first time actually experience me without the negative lens that people oftentimes present me in. And then they go, oh, wow, I agree with this person. You will find yourself agreeing with a lot of the things that I'm saying if you actually come in and watch me directly, as opposed to watch me through 17-second clips that some weird clipped out of context. It was really funny when they were like, when a lot of people were like saying this about my pro-Palestinian position. They're like, I used to hate Hassan, but it turns out he's like rare Hassan W on Palestine. It's like, bro, I've been doing this since you were in your diapers. Okay. Like, you watch everyone else. The difference, don't you think the difference between me, a content creator, and you, a content watcher, is that I might know these people sometimes personally? Think. I might know them personally. I might have had familial relationships with them. Exactly. That's so smug. But it's the truth. What do you mean? It comes across as smug, but it's literally the truth. Yes. The people that I am talking about that are like content creators that are clipping me out of context, sometimes I have a podcast with them in the past. Sometimes I've appeared on their podcast in the past as well. There's an entire ecosystem designed around presenting me in the most negative light possible, which is why I don't really get mad at people when they get too mad at people when they just have like a negative association with my name, because it's like, you're literally hate watching Trump every day. What are we talking about? Hate watching Trump? He's the president. Please stop thinking about things from the framework of slop tubers, dude. I'm hate watching the president, the most powerful person on the planet. Ironically enough, I don't just watch anti-Trump content. I watch Trump uninterrupted for hours at a time. And I also watch more pro-Trump content than I watch anti-Trump content. That's crazy. Anyway, President Trump campaigned on getting men out of women's sports, something you've built your entire brand off, and he delivered. He didn't mention Epstein one time at a campaign rally. Shameful how disloyal some people are. Oh, he didn't campaign on unearthing a deep state pedophiles. Got it. Thank you, Johnny MAGA.
The FBI, when he was still hosting a podcast, relentlessly teased the release of the Epstein files. They even had some MAGA influencers come to the White House to receive a binder that said Epstein files phase 1. So they've really teased it. They've really built it up. And now for Trump to say, I don't know why everyone is talking about this, let's move on, has sort of split the movement.
And we've seen in recent years, as you mentioned, conspiracies like QAnon and Pizzagate relating to children. They go very viral, preying on an understandable general concern for the welfare of minors. Have the Epstein files just become a catch-all for this kind of sentiment? Or is it to do with the sort of influencer mechanism, ecosystem of generating content, which has really stirred all this up?
Well, I mean, it's really both. I mean, the Epstein story captures two of the big kind of themes of QAnon, which is child sex trafficking, which Epstein was himself engaged in, and the idea that Hollywood and Washington, D.C. elite are in on it. And certainly there have been, releases of names who Epstein was associated with, friends with, some of which may or may not have been, traveling to his island with him. But it brings together this idea that there's a kind of connection between Hollywood, D.C., and child sex trafficking. So Epstein captures those things together. And then because there have been so many kind of court reports, releases, incomplete information, it creates fodder for influencers online to sort of tease a new release, to say, oh, I have some insight into these files, to say someone needs to come along and reveal what's really behind all this. And Trump was promised to be the person who did that. So that's part of the betrayal now, with him saying, why is everyone talking about this all of a sudden?
So do you think Trump has created this problem for himself by incorporating their release into his campaign message last year?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a surprise. I mean, I think he could have kept teasing it, really, because some QAnon influencers are already saying, actually, this is a sign that Trump is going to release the real files later, that these are just the files Obama left him and they've been doctored. People are alighting on the phrase Trump used in one of his Truth Social posts, referring to Epstein as a guy who never dies. And they're saying, oh, this is a sign that Epstein's really alive and that Trump can't tell us now, but he's going to tell us further down the line. So he could have kept doing that, I think. But with Pam Bondi repeatedly saying, oh, I have the list of, Epstein's associates on my desk, I'm going to review it and release it. They got a little too specific with it, really, and saying that they were going to release the actual files and reveal all, and then to suddenly turn around and say, actually, nothing happened, there's nothing to see here. It's a tough look. But I do think some of the more committed MAGA faithful will find a way to spin it into the promise of a future revelation.
He has midterm elections next year. How big an issue could this be for him with his own base, given his close relationship with Epstein in the past?
Yeah, I mean, Steve Bannon has been worrying about this, Trump's former advisor, saying, what if we lose 10% of the MAGA base? That'd be enough to affect us at the midterms. You see people like Andrew Schultz, the comedian, who's kind of associated with the manosphere and been one of these people, along with figures like Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan, who have been credited with Trump's success in the last election. They're expressing disillusionment. So if he does lose some of these people who are not necessarily super committed MAGA supporters, but see Trump as someone who can stand outside the establishment and critique it and question it, if he loses that authenticity in the eyes of those supporters, it could hurt him, because I mean the margin of victory was not that massive in the last election, and he captured people who he didn't capture before, partly because he was seen as this kind of free-thinking outsider. So if he loses that status, it could really hurt the MAGA movement.
NPR called Epstein's involvement with Israel a conspiracy theory and anti-Semitic on Up First this morning. Oh my God. You don't understand, guys. You don't understand. Jeffrey Epstein and his affiliates like Ghislaine Maxwell and Ghislaine Maxwell's family, for example, being directly involved with multiple former Israeli prime ministers is a pure coincidence. It is totally, totally anti-Semitic to ask the question why former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak was routinely visiting Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion and trying to do the job of hiding his identity when frequenting the Jeffrey Epstein mansion in New York City. far after it was known that he was a sex trafficker of minors. Please do not ask this question. Okay, this is very, very, very anti-Semitic, deeply disturbing. Okay, deeply disturbing stuff.
And can the Democrats capitalize on this now at all, given the Republicans have peddled false conspiracies like birtherism with President Obama and the Clintons being violent criminals? Is this something they can weaponize now?
I think they could. I mean, so far they seem to be a little reluctant to do so. It seems like an obvious political win for them. But of course, Epstein had connections in the Democratic Party as well. They've also bungled previous attempts to attack Trump, the Russiagate scandal that Trump was able to turn against them. So I think there's some caution there because he was so successful referring to the Russia hoax, as he likes to call it. And again, he's bringing that up again as he tries to defend his decision not to release the Epstein files. So I think they have been burnt in the past by this, and they're still a bit disorganized and unsure how to respond to him. But it does seem like an obvious opportunity for them.
And do you think Trump might do something now to try and distract from this whole scandal?
Yeah, he is. I mean, and you can see his supporters taking up the lead on this. I mean, they've been flouting and Alligator Alcatraz, praising ICE, pointing to the auto pen scandal, as they describe it, with Joe Biden having used an auto pen to sign key documents. So they're definitely trying to shift the discussion to something else. And we'll see how successful it can be. I mean, right now there are still people who...
This morning, President Trump facing unprecedented criticism from some of his biggest supporters.
This has been the first fracture in MAGA
over the Justice Department's handling of files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. For days, many on the right have been criticizing Attorney General Pam Bondi's decision not to release the files, but now high-profile figures, including House Speaker Mike Johnson, weighing in.
It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it.
And podcaster Joe Rogan, an influential Trump ally in the last election, mocking the administration's response.
Like, look, where's the Epstein files? Boo, can't find them. Don't exist. Like, they can get away with man.
Oh, yeah. Bondi has said there are Epstein files, but concluded Epstein did not leave behind an incriminating client list and that he died by suicide in 2019 while awaiting trial.
Nothing to see here, folks. Also, here's the uninterrupted raw footage that we actually interrupted and edited in Premiere.
Contradicting right-wing conspiracy theories that he was murdered. Rogan criticizing Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel.
Kash Patel said there's nothing you're looking for. Oh, okay.
For his part, President Trump dismissing the interest.
He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is.
And after his daughter-in-law said there needs to be more transparency, I asked the president about her comment.
Do you agree with her, sir? The Attorney General's handled that very well.
He has stood by Bondi's judgment.
Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release.
Trump, like many celebrities, was seen with Epstein in the 90s, but later said they had a falling out. And by the time Epstein was arrested, that he had not spoken to him in 15 years. Asked about Bondi's review.
Did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen.
The Attorney General yesterday deflecting questions about the controversy, but asked about those calling for change at the Justice Department.
I'm going to be here for as long as the president wants me here.
House Speaker Mike Johnson also signaled he'd support having Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell testify before Congress, saying he's for transparency. Maxwell is serving 20 years in prison for conspiring with Epstein. Her family is now speaking out, arguing she did not receive a fair trial and hoping the Supreme Court will hear her appeal. Savannah?
Gabe Gutierrez.
Budfeld, after defending, calling himself a Nazi and taking ownership over the movement, today is still trying to actively defend the Trump administration. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Not enough, but the Dems are great at saying, yeah, you know, it didn't work out the first time, but just give us a chance and we'll make it better. This is why Trump is good. Even when you're off about Epstein, he's not perfect, but when he's not perfect, he's still good. The problem with all these other...
Oh my God. Am I watching MSNBC explain harm reduction Except this time, you're trying to explain harm reduction voting to a base that doesn't play by those rules at all and never has and never will, because their expectation is you're supposed to whip up panicked hysteria around certain narratives, and then you're supposed to actually capitalize on that by offering red meat. Like the example I use here is claiming that trans people represent like a real threat to the American public over and over again, only to, once you get into power, only to turn around and be like, actually, we can't, or capitalize, sorry. Did I say capitalize? What is, my brain is so busted, I'm sorry. Capitalize. It would be like if the Trump base, after telling everyone that, trans people represent like a grave threat to Western empire or whatever, and getting at least enough people in the base to believe this lie, if you were to turn around and be like, actually, we can't do anything about trans people. We can't even like stop the 40 trans athletes from participating in NCAA. Actually, it's good that trans people are still participating in sports and there's not anything that we could do about it. Sorry, sucks to suck. Yeah, the base would probably, and this is not even as important of a cause for Trump's base of support as is the Epstein stuff. Like, so the example I'm using is not even a direct analog here. Do you understand? They're used to getting treats. They're used to winning culture war issues. Okay? You don't get the promise and whip up hysteria on a really pivotal on a really pivotal issue such as this one for the base of support, only to turn around and be like, yeah, you don't get it. Good things aren't possible. Especially when everyone knows you do have a lot of power over releasing this information. Because this isn't something like I was going to end the wars and then not being able to deliver on ending the wars on day one. Okay? One, ending the wars is not that big of a deal for a lot in the base of support. And two, it's not entirely in your hands. Like, you can't just, end a foreign adversary's illegal incursion into Ukraine, right? You can't do that. You can't unilaterally decide it's over now. That's far more difficult. So people are most likely going to be a lot more understanding of what your inability is to stop Russia's invasion into Ukraine.
Things that Dems do, they have to be perfect to work. So it's like capitalism. It can be frustrating and it can be prone to flaws, but it doesn't have to be perfect to make the world work.
I've been speaking to Coca-Cola about using real cane sugar in the Coke in the United States, and they've agreed to do so. I'd like to thank all of those in authority at Coca-Cola. This is very good move by them. You'll see. It's just better. Wow, cane sugar. I've totally forgot about the Epstein files now. Yeah. Don't make perfect an enemy of the good is already a failure for the Democrats in terms of like galvanizing their base of support, in terms of bringing out the masses to go out and vote for you. It is going to be an even larger failure for the Republicans, because the Republicans have always said, yeah, harm reduction, dog. We are going to give you exactly what you want. And if you don't have anything that you can pay attention to, we'll make sure you find something to pay attention to. We'll whip up hysteria around, I don't know, undocumented migrants. Here's my queen, Jessica Tarkov, doing the Lord's work, saying 75% of Republicans want the files out there.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, and he will, by the way, be getting no credit for anything that any of you are excited about if he cannot sort out his answer on the Epstein files.
But don't pretend to care about that.
Yeah.
But you're speaking on that from a political perspective, not a moral one, so it doesn't matter.
Of course it matters.
I actually am interested in it.
I'm interested
Jessica,
in
you never brought it up for years.
That's not true.
Jessica, the polls are so boring.
Fine. How about the humans? Mike Flynn, you're a human. Charlie Kirk, you're a human. Steve Bannon, you're a human. They're all mad.
Now you're on their side. What a coincidence. She's now wants to know about Epstein now that Trump's in the office. Didn't care when Biden was there. What else do you care about? Who ran the presidency?
What?
Who did you actually care who was running the White House when Joe was in office? Did you care about that?
This
No.
is such an incredible deflection.
No, it's not.
You brought up Epstein.
I'm showing
We're
you it's a
talking about the
pattern.
border. You brought up Epstein.
I'm talking about why this president is not doing a good job on everything from the border.
But you just said he
just closed the border permanently, Jessica.
Immigration policy. Go ahead.
You are
Just keep
conflating. No,
going.
okay, no,
I'm
Jessica,
not.
you are conflating legal with illegal.
They're so mad, bro. They're so mad. Oh my God. Oh, this is awesome.
Legal. I get it because he's winning on illegal. Doesn't work.
Okay.
All right, up.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Leading us off from the White House. Thank you. And we began with the cracks in MAGA world growing deeper as President Trump insists it's time to move on from the Jeffrey Epstein.
I think, like, if the Democrats were to operate like Republicans, they'd be calling Trump a pedophile, sex criminal right now. And I'm not, I know why they won't do it, because partially because, like, their own donors are implicated in the Epstein. But the Republicans are shameless, and the Dems should be too. They should be like, yeah, release it, or you're a pedophile. Release the Epstein files, or you're a pedophile, dude. Come on. You can use interesting techniques like pedophile sex trafficker says what? Like, you can say that real quick to have them go what and be like, oh, got him. Many different techniques out there.
Case. The calls for his administration to release its files on the notorious sex offender now moving from talk radio to the halls of Congress, with some of his biggest supporters, including the House Speaker, urging the president and his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to change course.
This has been the first fracture in MAGA, and we don't want this to happen anymore.
See, I told you this is a real fracture, bro. I told you this shit ain't going away. Many of you were like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is something that they'll forgive and forget. Like, they'll just focus on the next thing when the opportunity presents itself. And it's like, no, dude, no, this is like a major issue for a lot of people in the base.
Trump says he just doesn't get the hype now.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. Credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
Let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin, NBC's senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen, and former U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuaid. Julie, House Speaker Mike Johnson, now the highest-ranking Republican to break with the president on this. What did he have to say?
Well, Johnson had a rare moment, extremely rare, actually. I can't think of a single other instance in which the speaker broke with the president on anything, but it goes to show you just how powerful, potent, and divisive this issue is within the very core of the MAGA base. Johnson, with conservative podcast host Benny Johnson, who kind of set up shop here in the Capitol, and lawmakers were able to just come through and talk and sit in these interviews, had damaging words, not so much for Pam Bondi, but in forcing this issue and kind of letting it.
Dude, boring is my favorite, like, right-wing. Boring is my favorite right-wing distraction term. Oh, you're boring, like Andrew Tate used against me when he was losing the argument. It's just boring. Nobody cares. Come on. Stop it. It's boring. It's boring. Why does anybody care about this? Another kind of right-wing figure that used that deployed that term was my former podcast co-host, Ethan Klein. This is boring. It's boring. Stop it. Stop debating me on the terms of Israel-Palestine. Stop it. Nobody cares. I want this to be entertaining. Don't do it.
Bubble back up to the surface, wanting to see more of those files. Take a listen.
It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it. I agree with the sentiment that we need to put it out there. And Pam Bondi, I don't know. When she originally made the statement, I think she was talking about documents, as I understood it. They were on her desk. I don't know that she was specific about a list or whatever, but she needs to come forward and explain that to everybody.
That said, as you know, Anna, there's always a difference between what they say and what they do, and Johnson could support an effort to force the administration's hand here, and he didn't. So far yesterday, he did not support a procedural motion from Congressman Ro Khanna, now a bipartisan effort with Thomas Massie as well, to try and set up a vote in which the House would then, if passed, force the DOJ to release these files. Johnson didn't do that.
You think it's a power struggle within the ranks of the party? No, not at all. The party is unified under the banner of Trump. There is no, and they're also unified under the banner of protecting the interests of the super wealthy, this being one of those interests. The only like fissure that's taking place is within the base and the party itself. Just like the Democrats were unified under defending Israel, right? There were some people who were not on board with it, but like ultimately it was a big fissure amongst the base that saw what the Democrats were doing with Israel and didn't like it. Okay. And the same goes for the Republicans here. The party is completely on board with Donald Trump. It's just that the people are not on board with the way that Trump has mishandled. The people are not on board, and the network of like podcasts that they've used up until this moment to galvanize the base, to whip up support, is, look, see? Breaking, a video is going viral showing J.D. Vance calling for the full Epstein list to be released on Theo Von's podcast. Hey, J.D., what changed? Let's blast this everywhere before he tries to erase it. Theo Von says, yeah, what changed? I'll tell you what changed. I think they got the new marching orders from Israel. That's what changed. Huh? Okay.
Is the possibility.
Also, here's Hakeem Jeffries hitting those notes a little bit, which is not bad.
Now what we see is the possibility that there's a massive cover-up taking place within the Trump administration, because there may be people on the Epstein list within the Epstein files that Donald Trump is trying to protect, who happen to be part of his billionaire cabal. And now what we see is the possibility that there's a massive cover-up taking place within the Trump administration, because there may be people on,
I guess, AIPAC and the ADL and numerous other Israeli groups have not actually told Hakeem Jeffries to shut the up about this, because he's speaking out of turn here. He's even using the terms like billionaire, shadowy cabal, dangerous, spicy rhetoric. How does he fumble this bag? I mean, so far, so good. So far, we shall see.
Still has an opportunity to, we're told that Khan and Massie are actually trying to collect signatures, 218, to force what's called a discharge petition, enforcing the speaker's hand in placing that vote and taking it anyway, regardless if he wants it or not. But we're not sure yet if it can get to 218 on it.
I mean, John, as the fallout keeps building, the president just responded on Truth Social this morning. He's blaming Democrats for the backlash. He writes, their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have bought into this BS, hook, line, and sinker. What should we make of this response from the president?
Well, the full Truth Social post was the length of a Leo Tolstoy book, but had the sort of intellectual consistency of a George Orwell book. This is a president who promoted
that's a big, beautiful boy right there.
Conspiracy theories around Jeffrey Epstein, including one that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton murdered Epstein in jail, which is absolutely insane, and for which there's no evidence because it didn't happen, and has now found himself in a position where he is at odds with a lot of his base. And I think the fallout of this and the danger for him is that it really is the base. It's the grassroots that is angry about this. And we see that in the pressure being put to bear on the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Tucker Carlsons, from both sides, both from Trump wanting them to stop talking about it and from the grassroots insisting that these Epstein files be released.
I mean, John, initially the president tried to stem the tide of this backlash with a post on Truth Social over the weekend. He wrote, 1 year ago, our country was dead. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about.
Don't pay attention.
Well, he got slammed for that. That post received more than 45,000 responses, far more than other recent posts. Many of the top comments were expressing frustration with the president. John, does the president really not get it? Is he out of touch with his base on this?
Yes.
Yes, he's absolutely out of touch with his base on this. And in fact, what we've seen is him repeatedly say no one's interested in this, stop talking about it, in public comments. He's accidentally fanning the flames of this, but it sort of feels like he has to because it's the only thing that his base is talking about. We heard him once say, famously, that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose a vote. But what he's finding out right now is that he cannot ridicule and mock all of his own voters and get away with that and have them sit for it. So I think he's going to have to find a way to repair his relationship with the base on this issue.
He keeps on saying, that it's nothing for them to be worried about. And even in his post this morning, he called them past supporters who are stirring up all of the angst over this. But clearly, it's not just past supporters. It's people who are wanting to continue to support him and are suddenly having second thoughts over this issue. Barbara, yesterday, Attorney General Pam Bondi dodged some questions about the Epstein files. Let's play her reaction.
He would support you releasing additional credible evidence from the Epstein investigation. Is that something that you are open to doing?
Let me take that.
Just a few moments ago.
Let me take that first. This today is about fentanyl, nothing about Epstein. I'm not going to talk about Epstein.
The president said today you would release credible files related to Mr. Epstein. Are you prepared to do that, and when would you do that?
Our memo speaks for itself, and we'll get back to you on anything else. I haven't seen all of his statements today. Thank you.
Barbara, why do you expect that Bondi is dodging these questions?
Well, Bondi herself is right at the heart of this storm. She was the person who released Volume 1 in binders in a very ostentatious display, suggesting that this was the secret file that we've all been waiting for, which turned out, of course, to be nothing more than some very routine, already known materials. And then she said, it is sitting on my desk right now. Now, some thought it meant a client list, which people have been yearning for. She has now backtracked to say, when I said it, I just meant the file in general. I didn't mean to suggest there was anything like a client list. So between Pam Bondi, Donald Trump, Kash Patel, and others who are now inside the administration, they were the ones who were stoking all of this interest in the Epstein files. And now suddenly they've looked at it and they say there's no there. I think what they're finding is governing is much more challenging than simply spewing venom on Fox News or social media. You have to be able to back up.
Yeah, governing is much more challenging because when you're on the outside trying to win, you get to say these guys are all pedophiles. But when you're on the inside, you have to defend the pedophiles. Except that's not what she's saying. She's saying that it's all fake, and that's the reason why they got owned. So annoying.
What you're selling with words. Donald Trump himself wrote in The Art of the Deal that you can only con people for so long. At some point, they expect you to deliver the goods. And I think right now we are seeing that there are no goods to be delivered.
We played some of that earlier sound with President Trump saying that the Department of Justice should release any credible information. That was part of the question that was taken to Bondi. Barb, how do you interpret what the president views as credible?
Interesting how they don't believe anything Trump says until it's something that they also agree with, by the way. This is MSNBC. Under any other circumstance, if Trump said anything, they would be like, oh, obviously the opposite is true. But very odd that in this situation, they're like, well, haha, this is all fun and games, but make no mistake, the Epstein files are actually fake. And it's, Trump deserves to be punished for playing along with these conspiracy heartstrings.
Well, I don't know, but I can tell you what the law is about DOJ voluntarily releasing things. There are some restrictions under DOJ grand jury rules, under grand jury laws, and under the Freedom of Information Act. And so they are not permitted to disclose any grand jury material. Under the Freedom of Information Act, there is an exemption for anything relating to the privacy rights and privacy interests of victims and even subjects of an investigation. So in other words, if somebody was investigated for perhaps being part of this conspiracy to engage in sex acts with underage children, if there was not sufficient evidence to charge them with a crime, it would be improper for DOJ to voluntarily disclose that. Now, Congress can override that with some of these actions that they're talking about, but DOJ is not just not obligated, it is prohibited from producing these things now.
Well, speaking of Congress, Julie, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert had this suggestion for the case.
I think moving forward, we need a special counsel. That has got to happen. There has to be a special investigation into this if we aren't going to be provided information. I want answers, and maybe that takes that special counsel to do so. Maybe Matt Gaetz can lead the special counsel.
Was there any real support for Boebert's idea there on Capitol Hill?
Well, certainly among people like Boebert deep in the MAGA space that support continuing to investigate this issue. I will tell you, though, that even somebody as senior like Jim Jordan, who, of course, chairs a very important committee here, the Judiciary Panel, he is not interested at all in going down this road. He was pressed several times about it yesterday, and he continued to say that he stands with the president and he stands behind what his administration is doing here. But that doesn't mean that this isn't going to continue to be a total sore and pain for Trump and the White House and people who just want to get this and leave this in the past. And that includes, by the way, Speaker Johnson, because he said that in his interview with Benny Johnson. He just
You need to get a pedophile to truly understand the mindset of a pedophile. That's why Matt Gaetz is the perfect guy to do it. It's like Dexter. He's the Dexter of pedophilia. Okay? It's crazy because, like, he knows the environment. I mean, he literally was also doing the same in Florida, the same state, only a couple miles away from where Jeffrey Epstein was operating. Yeah, Matt Gaetz, perfect guy to do this, perfect guy to investigate this, considering he has literally the same experiences, pretty much as close to the same experiences as Jeffrey Epstein as you're going to get.
Has to toe the line here, as many of these guys do, in trying not to make their base more angry at this issue, and also trying to fend off Democrats who, even in the Senate, I'm told, are trying to force messaging votes on this very issue.
Nice.
President Trump today angrily denounced the support of anyone in his ranks who cares about the Jeffrey Epstein case, aka a significant number of people in his base who, by the way, elected Trump after he pledged to release the Epstein files, after his surrogate Elon Musk told Tucker Carlson that billionaires were backing Kamala Harris because they were terrified Trump would release the Epstein list. Now, this latest kerfuffle started this morning with Trump's post on Truth Social, where he continued to falsely assert that the Epstein files are some sort of Democratic ploy. He wrote, quote, "Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax."
Nope. No, we won't.
Past supporters.
No, we won't. You are 22 down on New York Times crossroad today? Wait, really? I'm in the New York Times crossword puzzle? Be for real. Is that for real? How can we find that? Spoilers? Okay, shut the up, chatter. It's going to be like, I need to subscribe, I guess. It's got to be like Hasan Minhaj or something. And this person is just like hurting my feelings. I can't check it. I'm not subscribed. It's Hasan Minhaj? Oh my God. You dick.
Have bought into this hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore, unquote. This same energy continued in the Oval Office this afternoon where the president said this.
They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had.
It's, of course, not a waste of time to care about the fact that dozens, if not hundreds, of survivors of rape, assault, trafficking, and more have been denied justice in the Epstein case from the jump. Aside from Epstein's own vile crimes, Epstein allegedly helped other powerful people in his...
I like that he says 3 to 4 years because, like, he somehow tries to make this like a Biden thing when Jeffrey Epstein was killed when he was president.
His orbit get away with heinous actions, including sex abuse, sex trafficking, in some cases the sexual abuse of minors. Here's just one portion of a victim impact statement surrounding the trial for Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell, who was sentenced to 20 years in prison for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse minors. One victim, who went by the pseudonym Kate, wrote to the judge, quote, "I witnessed Maxwell's relentless and insatiable drive to meet the sexual needs of Epstein at any cost to the vulnerable girls and women upon whom she preyed and fed to Epstein and other powerful men. The many acts that were perpetrated on me by Epstein, including rape, strangulation, and sexual assault, were never consensual and would have never occurred had it not been for the cunning and premeditated role of Ghislaine Maxwell played." Kate went on to write that the consequences of what Maxwell did have been far-reaching in her life. And this has been, let's just say it, this has been a huge about-face for Trump. He's the dog who caught the bus. On a podcast just last fall, he promised he would release the Epstein files.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them. Yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Back in 2019, In Trump's first term, he retweeted a baseless conspiracy theory suggesting that Epstein's death was tied to Bill and Hillary Clinton. The Epstein case is sadly not a hoax, as the president now claims. So what's going on here? Let's go to CNN's Kristen Holmes at the White House. Kristen, Trump has gone from saying,
Bro, how are you not going to show how Donald Trump on many instances wished her well? I'm surprised more people haven't brought up that Axios interview. Because that Axios interview, it says something insane. Hey, thank you, Ren, for the 5 gift of subs. Maxwell family put out a statement. Our sister Ghislaine did not read. We covered this. Did not receive a fair trial. Her legal team continues to fight her case in the courts and will file its reply in short order due to the government's opposition to the Supreme Court. If necessary, in due course, they will also file a writ of habeas corpus to the U.S. District Court SDNY. This allows her to challenge the imprisonment on the basis of new evidence, such as government misconduct that would have likely changed the trial's outcome. Following the government's response, David Oscar Marcus, counsel of record for our sister in her petition to the United States Supreme Court, had this comment. I'd be surprised if President Trump knew his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. He's the ultimate deal maker, and I'm sure he'd agree that when the United States gives its word, it should keep it. With all the talk about who's being prosecuted and who isn't, it's especially unfair that Maxwell remains in prison based on a promise the U.S. government made and broke. Yeah. Does anyone have the video of Trump talking about Ghislaine Maxwell in like incredibly positive terms? If they free her, the Republicans are cooked. I don't think they're freeing her. I think they would. The more likely scenario is that she also has an accident, which would completely brick everyone's brains. Like, yeah, here it is. Here it is. This is the most damning piece of evidence you could show for Trump's possible involvement beyond what he is stating right now. Look at this.
Mr. President, the other day a reporter asked you about Ghislaine Maxwell. You said, quote, I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well, whatever it is. Mr. President, Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested on allegations of child sex trafficking. Why would you wish such a person well?
First of all, I don't know that, but I do know that.
She has. She's been arrested for that. You know that.
Her friend or boyfriend,
Epstein,
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty. I mean, do you know that?
Oh, so you're saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out, how did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed? And I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her. I'm not looking bad for anybody. And they took that and
I mean, she's a child sex, alleged child sex trafficking.
Big deal. But all it is her boyfriend died. He died in jail. Was he killed? Was it suicide? I do. I wish her well.
Like when he says her boyfriend, he's talking about Jeffrey Epstein, dude. Like, does Donald Trump ever talk like this about anyone? Ever? Like, that is crazy, brother. This was when he was president too.
Everyone should move on from Epstein to saying he doesn't even want the support of people who care about this. That's a lot of people. We should note that in the not so recent past, those who cared about this case have included his son, Don Jr., his Vice President, J.D. Vance, his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and on and on. What's the thinking here?
Jake, I'm not really sure there is thinking behind this. A lot of this seems to be unforced errors by President Trump. I've talked to a number of people around him who do believe that they are understanding where the base stands, but it still seems unclear that President Trump realizes what a big deal this is to so many of his supporters. And just to give some clarity here, it's not just the people who voted for them. It's also the big personalities on the right and some really who had never voted before, now part of the MAGA movement, who drew in their supporters, people who have podcasts, YouTube shows, to get them to the polls to vote for Donald Trump in order to release the Epstein files. And part of this, what I'm hearing from these supporters, is they don't really understand why exactly he's made this about face. Here's what he said in the Oval Office today.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work.
A couple of other things he said, that he has lost faith in certain people because of their belief in these so-called Epstein files, that the Republicans have been duped. Again, as you noted, some of the people who've been placed in the highest roles in his administration, I guess, are some of these same people who were allegedly duped by this quote-unquote Epstein hoax, as President Trump has said. Now, our colleague DJ Judd just caught up with President Trump as he was leaving an event and asked about whether or not he would appoint a special counsel or consider appointing a special counsel. He said he has nothing to do with it. And let's be clear, if someone was going to appoint a special counsel, it would, of course, have to go through the Attorney General's office. But as we have reported time and time again since Donald Trump took office, the Justice Department is operating the least independently that it has in modern history. So, of course, President Trump would have everything to do with a decision about a special counsel here, Jake.
All right, Kristen Holmes, thanks so much. Let's discuss this with two former Trump White House officials. Mike Dubke, former Trump White House communications director in the first term. Jim Schultz, former Trump White House.
Could this work? No, it's not working. These people, there are many people who voted for Trump because they are literally overtaken by his sexual prowess, his charisma. I know that sounds insane, but that is literally why a lot of people just have a cult-like admiration towards the man. But there are far more people that actually voted for Donald Trump because they see Donald Trump as a vehicle to destroy the elites, as a mallet, as a hammer to all of the institutions. They have voted for him, especially like low propensity voters have voted for him because they see him as a change from the way that previous like establishment politicians have ruined their lives, regardless of the fact that he's a billionaire born with a silver spoon and a child of real estate developers. Okay, doesn't matter. They see him as a guy who is anti-establishment, who's against the elites, who is going to be vengeful towards said elites. And for many of those people, their only like class association or class style political opinions revolve around conspiracy. The conspiracy that Jeffrey Epstein has sex trafficked minors at the behest of like societal elites, whether they be Hollywood or you know, massive finance people and politicians and members of the royal family and prominent Democratic and maybe even Republican figures, but mostly Democratic figures, right? Like that's what they see it as. So Trump not doing this is a direct, basically directly going against why people voted for him. And it's showing people that like he is not an anti-elite guy. Tax cuts for the wealthy and deregulation do not read to the base of MAGA as a pro-societal elite moment. This, on the other hand, does read as a pro-societal elite moment, that Trump is a part of the elite squadron. He is defending their interests.
A lawyer. Jim, you've worked with Trump on a very personal level. Explain to us the mindset here and what you would advise him as his lawyer to say right now.
So in terms of what folks are thinking here, and you know, not to get to the crux of this, I think we need to be more concerned, less concerned about MAGA, more concerned about the victims associated with these cases.
I agree.
Right? When you saw people walking around with the binders outside of that, I thought how many cases on behalf of victims on a pro bono basis. I'm thinking, what are the victims thinking at this moment with people walking outside the White House, reporters with these binders purportedly containing information? They don't know what's in those binders. They don't know what's going to come out. And purportedly containing information, the trauma, we have to think about the trauma that those folks are going through, those women are going through, who had been abused, who had been purportedly trafficked, and you know what their reaction is to that issue. And I think we're losing all of that. The news media is losing it. The White House is losing it. The Attorney General lost it when they paraded around with those binders. And I think MAGA is losing sight of that too. And the Democrats in Congress are doing the same thing. They're politicizing something that's traumatic for folks. And this needs to be governed by and through the court system. And judges need to help make these determinations by and through the Department of Justice if it's something that's going to be released.
I totally agree with you, and that's why we interviewed the attorney for some of the victims yesterday, and it's why I already mentioned them. Mike Dubke, let me ask you, notwithstanding the point that Jim just made, this is now a political crisis for the president of some sort, at least with his base. Laura Loomer, who is a conspiracy theorist and somebody that I'd rather not even mention, but she has the ear of the president. I mean, she like suggested some firings in the National Security Council, and he followed through. She told Politico that she worries that his handling of the Epstein case could consume his presidency. She said, quote, obviously this is not a complete hoax, given the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years in prison in Florida for her crimes and activities with Jeffrey Epstein, who we know is a convicted sexual predator. Loomer told Politico. That's all true. This is why I said, and I'll reiterate it again, the best thing the president can do is appoint a special counsel to handle the Epstein files investigation. Again, that she sounds reasonable there. She's not a reasonable person, but still, that
she's also a leader within this movement.
That's exactly
so what she says on this topic matters.
Yeah.
And to Jim's point, this is a political story now, like it or not. The courts are almost secondary to what is happening. I frankly am surprised I'm not surprised that the president doubled down or even tripled down on this, because one of the superpowers of Donald J. Trump is that he runs into fire and survives almost every time. In this instance, though, he lit this fire. Well, he didn't necessarily light this fire, but he did stoke it.
Yeah.
And as did his supporters. But they stoked it for a really good reason, because a lot of what he won on, one of the reasons that his base loves him so, is because he points to powerful individuals that have been lying to the American people. That whole story, including now sex, is wrapped up in the Epstein case. So I am surprised that he's trying to be dismissive of this at this point, but I think he's playing to his strength, which is running into this. I don't think it will be successful.
Yeah.
At some point, we're going to have, you are going to continue to talk about it, as will others. The Democrats will not let this go, and frankly, a good chunk of his supporters will not let this go. And this is going to affect the midterm elections, and this is now a purely political story.
A lot happening this morning, and what I'm going to try to do this morning is I seek to explain. I'm going to try to explain the best of my ability what is going on here.
Charlie Kirk yesterday said he's no longer going to talk about the Epstein stuff, and he's going to trust his friends in the government. Remember? I know Adam Friedland is doing an episode with Harry Hassan. I know. My goat. Both of my goats getting together. Two guys who simply have sex. That's it. We'll watch it. We'll watch it later. Charlie has advice about the Epstein files. Mr. President, the emphasis on Epstein is truly the best intentions of our most loyal followers is because we want what's best for the presidency. People are talking about Epstein because they love Trump. We are fearful the same people who try to kill Trump, impeach him, and throw him in prison were behind Epstein. Epstein represents a symbol of an out-of-control shadow government, and this is a chance to bring it to heel. What should Charlie's move be if he were just backing Trump? Avoid it or never talk about it? I mean, the best case scenario for Charlie is to never talk about it. But it's impossible for him to never talk about it if Trump is talking about it. Trump, ironically, is breathing life back into the story over and over again with his inability to let it go, which then obviously provokes response from his most loyal fans. And Charlie, much like myself, cannot be sheltered from that. Like, Fox News can get away with not talking about certain things. Charlie, on the other hand, can't, because this is the biggest issue, and it's going to be such a prominent issue, and he's so accessible as opposed to like a Fox News commentator or a CNN commentator, because it's going to be all over his comments if he doesn't say anything about it. And his goal is to basically be a vessel for Trump and sometimes deliver information about what the base is demanding to Trump, and in other instances, message at the behest of Trump. So he's now stuck in this unique paradigm where he has to not talk about this but then when Donald Trump talks about this well, what are you going to do? You have to address it, because now Big Daddy, Big Papi is addressing it on the main stage. So he's trying to do the same thing as like Alex Jones almost. But of course he is whereas Alex Jones is like clearly on the side of the people because he's like more beholden to his audience. Charlie is more beholden to the administration because he has a direct line of communication with the president.
When in regards to Epstein and the messaging around Epstein, I'm going to do my best. I may not land the plane perfectly, but I think I have something to say here that will add some context and some depth to what we are seeing. President Donald Trump repeated what he said this morning on Truth Social. President Trump said basically right now in the press conference, some people are doing the Democrats' work talking about Epstein, and they are stupid people. I'm approximating. He said something similar on his Truth Social this morning, and he calls it.
This is so amazing. Donald Trump directly calling out Charlie Kirk's audience, and then Charlie Kirk having to do Obama anger translator for Donald Trump is amazing. Yeah, go ahead, big dog. Tell us what he actually meant with this.
The Epstein hoax. Now, before we go any further, I do want to say, big breaking news this morning. John Solomon is reporting that in his sit-down interview with Donald Trump, President Trump has greenlit a special prosecutor to potentially be able to go after the criminal conspiracy around Epstein and all deep state activity. So that is a phenomenal victory. That is something that we should rejoice in. And if that is true, because it's John Solomon, it's kind of like 2 or 3 levels back, but basically going after all things deep state, a deep state prosecutor. That is a terrific development. And I would love to see, you know who I want to see do that? Ed Martin. I think Ed Martin would be a phenomenal deep state prosecutor. So let's kind of just put a part on that. Let's just put a little bit of a little plug on that, because we'll get back to it. That's a huge victory. The president deserves credit there. If we get a full deep
if it's real, I love that. Dog, you got a direct line of communication with the president. Just call him up. Call him right now. What do you mean, if it's real? He straight up texts Donald Trump's children with regular frequency. And it's not just that, but Donald Trump called him personally to be like, hey, cut it out, cut the shit out. No more Epstein talk. What the are you doing? To which his response was, thank you, sir. Please, sir. I apologize, sir. And then he came out with this revelation yesterday that he's went back on clearly, where he was not going to talk about this Epstein stuff ever again.
State criminal conspiracy prosecutor. Think basically Robert Mueller for deep state activity, but one of our guys doing it. And interestingly, special prosecutors and the deep state activity actually is interlaced into all of this. So this morning, President Trump posted on Truth Social. I could read the entire thing on Truth Social, but let me just kind of do the best of. You guys can obviously find it on Trump's Truth Social. He says the radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again, just like the fake and discredited Steele dossier, the lying 51 intelligence agencies, the laptop from which the Democrats swore came from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. Even the Russia scam itself, a totally fake and made-up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in 2016 election. These scams and hoaxes are all Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They're no good at governing, no good at policy, and no good at picking winning candidates. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Their new scam.
That's the funniest part about this, by the way. I'm sorry, but the Democrats never stick together. I wish, to Donald Trump's credit, and there's obviously like a structural limitation that the Democrats will always face in terms of disrupting the pre-existing hierarchy, okay, and following through on campaign promises that they made. But that is that's such. Donald Trump, to his credit, is capable of whipping the entire party together to get his legislative agenda across, no matter how evil it is. And he did that already. He got his BBB, big booty bill. He got it across. He called every single person, and he made the boss calls, and he got it done. Everything that I have demanded of the Democratic Party in terms of whipping votes, Trump does every single time when it matters.
Is that we'll forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have bought into this BS. Hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for the last 8 years. I've had more success in the last 6 months than perhaps any other president in the history of our country. That is totally true. And all these people want to talk about with strong prodding by the fake news and success star of Democrats is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking about our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for attending to this matter. Make America great again. Okay, so let's start with this. President Donald Trump is obviously upset. Why is he most upset? I'm going to go through the top 2 reasons and seek to explain it. He's venting because he has achieved a lot in 6 months against all the odds. Energy prices are going down. The border is hermetically sealed. He passed the big, beautiful bill despite a 3-seat majority in the House of Representatives. He's embarking on mass deportations. He ended a war between Israel and Iran. He took out the Iranian nuclear facilities. He started the war.
This is the thing that pisses me off about Trump. Aside from all the obvious this is on some super basic like apolitical okay? Forgive me for getting apolitical with it for a brief moment when I'm talking about Donald Trump, who obviously is a political being. Like 90% of his accomplishments that these guys give him credit for are things that he up initially. Like, what do you mean he stopped a war with Iran? It's like he had the opportunity to never start a war with Iran. Like, it's so annoying where these people would be like, oh, and he's doing the tariffs. He's doing the tariffs. The economy has rebounded. It's like, yeah, the economy rebounded because it took a nosedive when he started with the tariffs. And then only when he backed away from the tariffs did the economy rebound and got to its previous levels before the dip. I wish I could get credit for like this. You know what I mean? I break something and then I threaten to break it further. And then I just simply stop breaking it. I don't even fix it. I just stop breaking it further. And people go, oh, thank God, bro. You are the king. You are so sick. It's like, bro, I started the problem. And then I said I was going to keep accelerating the problem. And then I stopped accelerating the problem. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, thank God. Oh, you are so good. You are so good at your job. That's the Trump method every single time. It's so annoying.
Ended the India-Pakistan war. He ended the Congo-Rwandan war just in his spare time. He's going after DEI. He is reducing the federal workforce. He is the biggest welfare reform in American history. I could go piece after piece after piece of all of the victory.
Yeah, and then the that he actually does accomplish is just horrifyingly bad for his audience, for his voters. Ironically enough, they'll be out here saying like, oh, dude, it's welfare reform. It's sick. It's like, dude, it's going to kill most people's grandparents. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, say bye-bye to rural hospital networks. It's gone, okay? It's gone. It's over. Like, what good is that? He lied. He said he was not going to touch Medicaid, and then he did this touching molestation of Medicaid. That's what he did. He molested the money after saying, I'm not going to molest the money. You're going to make so much money. You're going to keep winning. You're going to say, Mr. President, I'm winning so much. I'm going to say, we're going to keep winning. Molested the money, stopped money molestation a little bit, only for the stock market to rebound a little bit. Okay. And then he said he's not going to touch Medicaid, and he's molesting the Medicaid. He also said, no new wars. We're actually stopping wars. Started a new war again, and then quietly ended it, I guess. He said, this said he's going to stop Israel, Palestine, and Russia, Ukraine day one. The audacity. The audacity. It's like, especially with like Israel, Palestine, like he could do that. Okay. I'm willing to give him a little bit more liberty on the Russia-Ukraine shit because, like, the primary party responsible for the death and destruction here is Russia. And Russia is a foreign adversary. So, like, you have pressure points, but you don't have the same liberties that you do and the same power that you do with Israel. You could stop Israel day one, but he didn't do that. And Trump is out here not delivering on any of this shit. And the only things he does deliver on is actually harmful. And his riders are just like, hell yeah, baby. He's killing it. He's awesome. He's amazing. Look at the border.
That President Donald Trump was able to achieve. One of the most impactful 6 months ever of any president. So from President Trump's perspective, he is experiencing a pace. He's experiencing a reality that is far different than the first 6 months of Trump 1.0. So President Trump's immediate reaction as someone who is making phone calls to try to end the Russian-Ukrainian war, he's trying to figure out this Jerome Powell thing. He's got agencies of governments to manage. He's turning and probably saying, why is the attention on a guy who has been dead for 6 years? That is probably what President Trump is saying, and I'm synthesizing part of his venting. Here's my piece of advice, guys. Don't take too seriously this whole Truth Social here. I know some people are getting fired up about this. I don't believe he was trying to insult anybody personally. His base, the people who made his movement what it is, I think is what he was pushing back on what he thinks is a misaligned press narrative.
Oh, when he said you guys are stupid for caring about this, he actually meant like something totally different. He just didn't mean that you were. Let's look at the comments. Charlie, if someone around Trump hasn't taken 5 minutes to fill him in on why this is a big deal, that should be alarming to everyone. When Epstein is brought up, we are not talking about the man. We are talking about the whole nightmare. We want names because we want people, however, whoever they might be, accountable. I'm going to be a simple man here. I want those who have done wicked things in the videos to go to jail for a long time. Justice for the kids is what people want. This is more important than any politician, including Trump. He's gaslighting us. Duh. We care because this is another example of class warfare, and we're sick of the elites not being held accountable. If Trump really felt it was no big deal and made up by Democrats, then why did he make such a big deal during his campaign about it and promise either release it at all? If it's not that big of a deal, just release it all and move on. Bro, these guys do not care. Okay, that was a Hasanabi head? No, dude. We care about this because this is another example of class warfare? No. This is the reason why I said that brother, Republicans have no way of doing class politics. They don't understand it. Many Americans, liberals as well, don't have any understanding of class consciousness. They don't have any class politics. So they actually grab on to things like this as a signifier. It is a substitute for class consciousness. It's a substitute for class warfare. They don't understand that class warfare is being dished out every step of the way in every facet of their existence, whether it be their landlord raising their rent, whether it be their boss that tells them, like, this is your salary and it's not increasing, okay? Whether it be price of groceries going up. They don't see it. They don't see that as class warfare, which it is. They only see this as class warfare. Jeffrey Epstein and all these elites get to do, like, pedophilia on airplanes, on private jets, and then no one seems to care, and there's no justice ever served for these people. They see that as like a major part of this. Okay, what is this? What Hasan tweeted silently mid news coverage and acted like nothing happened. I'm crying.
Well, Johnson had a rare moment, extreme.
That's crazy, bro. Chill. Hey. Look away. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. They got you in 4K, Unc. That's crazy. What I do in my side monitor is my own business. Okay? If I see something, I say something. Also, you can't say shipper, bro. They're literally flying to Japan together. What the f are you talking about? At that point, it's like, that's crazy to say. Oh, I'm a shipper. I'm just noticing things. How am I a shipper for noticing that they're wearing the same fit to a 5-day Japan trip? Excuse me for seeing something and saying something. That's what they have on the MTA, on the walls of the MTA. What do they have? If you see something, say something, okay? You could stop a terror attack from taking place. And that's precisely what's going on here. It's not shipping. I'm just noticing a thing that I saw. I saw something and I said something. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. You're that creepy unc telling nephew why he doesn't get together with his friend standing next to him? What? Comparing this to a potential terror attack is wild. Well, you know, it's maybe terrorizes some people's hearts and souls, okay? Like, because maybe they are fearful. What if it doesn't work out, for example? Okay? That's terrorizing to think of. Okay, maybe sometimes people feel a sense of hope. Okay, maybe they feel a sense of hope in an otherwise dark world. Forgive me for having a glimmer of hope in a world that is otherwise very dark. Okay, let's continue with the Epstein files now.
From what he wants to see as celebration of all the victories over the last 6 months. However, now let me now go to why I believe not just like why I care about this and why the base cares about this so much. And then I'm going to kind of connect the dots. Remember where President Trump was at this moment in Trump 1.0. At this moment in Trump 1.0, President Donald Trump was being hunted by Robert Mueller. President Donald Trump basically lost his attorney general at this moment in Trump 1.0. He's very loyal to Pam Bondi for many reasons. One of which is that he does not want to lose another attorney general. He does not want to lose another member of his cabinet this early on.
Dude, he has no option here. Yeah, he's small bean. Why won't you consider Trump's feelings? He'd be sad. Yeah, he has attorney general related trauma. You don't understand. This is quite distressing for Trump.
Secondly, he saw in the summer of 2017 a lot of people jump.
By the end of this Epstein process, Charlie Kirk's Vegeta-ass hairline is going to turn into Dan Bongino's hairline. Non-existent. Oh, yeah, I saw this. Former NYPD head accuses Mayor Adams' police brass of criminal enterprise. Andrew Cuomo sends his regards.
Ship and align with the Robert Mueller thing. So President Donald Trump has, within his memory, he saw that his presidency in 2017 was largely taken from him in Trump 1.0 because a lot of people jumped aboard the Mueller bandwagon. And with that, he kind of saw so much of his momentum that he had from the election thwarted. When people demand that he fires Pam Bondi, he hears people demanding that he explode his admin, just like what happened in the first term. So a big question the base has is, why doesn't President Trump care as much as the base cares? So let me connect the two dots together. The base cares about this.
Bro, I never thought I see the day where Charlie Kirk is relegated to the position of like a hutch or like a sex pestiny trying to defend the Democratic incompetence. And only because, like, normally these guys get to have this veneer of independence from the administration because the administration is always giving things that their base wants. And now they have to just sit there and play catch up and play defense at a time when the base is directly at odds with the party. Awesome. It's amazing. Of course, unlike those losers, he has a direct line of communication with people in prominent positions of power. Those guys are just doing it for free 99 for funsies because they think there's a market for this.
Not as a way to hurt Donald Trump. And this is where I think I think I could be an explainer here, because I think everyone's talking past each other a little bit. We do not care about the story as a way to hurt Donald Trump. In fact, it's the opposite. We love President Trump. We love what he's doing. We actually care about this story because this is a rare opportunity of a sloppy operation by the deep state. The deep state conducted itself in an overly messy, sloppy way. President Donald Trump taught us to drain the swamp. President Donald Trump taught us to want to go after the deep state. So I actually think we're all agreeing on this. President Trump wants...
It's also crazy for a grown man, he's my age, or maybe a little bit younger than me, but he looks a lot older, to be talking about another grown man like this. President Trump taught me. President Trump taught us. He taught us to live. He taught us to love. He taught us to hate. Bro, this is another dude. Like, get his out of your mouth, brother. Holy, like, what is this treatment that he's getting? He's giving Trump the treatment. This is cult shit. Oh my God. He's talking about Trump like Trump taught you right and wrong. Okay, he taught you to hate the deep state elite pedophile cabal, and now he's defending it. What now? I'm so blue and on. I took 2 weeks off watching the stream, and coming back to seeing how the Trump worshippers talk made me so aware of the genuinely authoritarian, fascistic cult way they talk, Hitler vibes. Oh yeah, it's crazy, man. Yo, I know this is off topic, but I just realized if we have elections during 2028 primary, your stream is high key going to be a coveted spot. Candidates are definitely going to want to take advantage of the Twitch streamer with the largest likely Dem primary voters. Oh, I know. I'm not looking that far into the distance right now. But I will say Zoran has bricked me, okay? He's ruined me. I saw what good sex is really like. Now all the sex I'm getting doesn't feel the same. You know what I mean? This is an analogy. I did not have sexual relations with Zoran Mamdani. But like now that I see like an actual candidate who is very close to my worldview in all of the most meaningful ways, now whenever come to me and they're like, oh, well, I'm a liberal, but I am kind of progressive. I'm like, are you though? Are you though? It is different. Yeah, good hits different, dude. Now I'm like, I want you to be a democratic socialist. I want you to be saying things about Israel that I'm saying. You know what I mean? Within the confines of permissibility, of course. That's what I'm trying to see. So when you come to me with some wishy-washy, I don't know.
To have a special prosecutor go after the deep state. We want to have an emphasis on Jeffrey Epstein because Jeffrey Epstein was probably an actor of the intelligence agencies. We don't know.
Oh my God, the search for liberal Joe Rogan has led the Democrats to an unlikely candidate, Jamie Harrison, their former party chair. Amazing. Yeah, that'll do it. Oh, that'll do it. That'll do it. This is the that kicked you out of the DNC. Oh, I know. AOC joined Zoran Mamdani today at the Capitol.
We're in Washington, D.C., and look who I brought.
Yeah, she threw a luncheon for him.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
How's it going?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. We're in Washington, D.C. and
Don't worry, I got it on the docket. Trump calling into One America News. I got it already. It's on the docket. We're going to get there.
Oh, that for certain. He could have been a fabulist, like Mike Benz said yesterday. And maybe he was kind of doing brokering, or maybe he was kind of connecting the different entities together. But understand this. When I go to college campuses, I am not proactively bringing up Epstein.
Justice Department fires SDNY federal prosecutor Maureen Comey, who played a key role in prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, Politico. What the Hey, yo. Hey, yo. I mean, look, she flubbed it on the Diddy. But then again, Trump literally said he would entertain pardoning Diddy. I'm just saying. Zoran method is unpatched right now. After the recent closure of 2 local grocery stores, the Worcester City, or is it Worcester City Council passed a bill last night ordering the city to study creative solutions like Zohran Mamdani's municipally owned grocery store idea. Worcester? Okay. I'll with it. Dude, things are happening. Things are moving. Things are moving in an interesting direction. I like what I'm seeing. Okay? I like what I'm seeing, baby.
People are bringing Epstein to me. The reason why we are caring about this is not trying to win brownie points or not trying to make the liberals or the media care about us. To go full circle, we are caring about the Epstein story because we are afraid that if we do not lance the intelligence community bull that tried to murder him on July 13th in Butler, Penn.
He's like, bro, remember when the deep state tried to murder Trump? It's like, okay, well, I guess he's trying to not be murdered now because he's literally defending the deep state.
Pennsylvania, that tried to take him out with Russia, then that very same deep state actor that spied on him and leaked the phone call of him between Zelensky that resulted in his first impeachment. We're worried the deep state will derail Trump. And we look at the Epstein story as a skeleton key to be able to look under the hood, dismantle and deconstruct the administrative state to protect Donald Trump from his adversaries. What do Andrea Bocelli, Steph Curry, Justin Bieber, and Tim Tebow have in common? All of their mothers were encouraged to end their pregnancies. When a woman faces an unplanned pregnancy, she is often pressured to end her child's life. She wants to make the right choice, but society and those around her are telling her that her baby is not a life. That's where the Ministry of Preborn steps in. Preborn and their network of clinics offers compassionate, loving care to mothers and the support they need to help them choose life, including a free ultrasound. Once a mother hears their child's beautiful heartbeat, she is twice as likely to choose life. If you consider yourself pro-life, it's time to join forces with Preborn. I'm a donor, and you should be too. Together, we can empower women to choose life, empower the truth of motherhood, transforms families and futures. One ultrasound is just $28, and a $140 gift will help to rescue 5 babies. When you donate monthly, you'll receive stories and pictures of lives you helped to save. What? Please dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250.
I'm glad that actually I walked away for this ad because this is the most terrifying ad I've ever seen in my whole life. What the Aren't you excited that the Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by only you with no ad breaks whatsoever? The only thing we ask for here at the Piker Broadcasting Service is your voluntary contributions in the form of a $6 a month subscription or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime. Now imagine a world where the Hasanabi, the Piker Broadcasting Service, also known as PBS, would actually be sponsored by preborn.com. Think about that. Instead, the only thing that we ask for here at the Piker Broadcasting Service is your voluntary contribution. Like I said, you can also gift a sub to others, like Matt NLT just did. 20 gifted subs. That's a crazy sponsorship to have. I didn't even know like companies like this existed. Okay? Yeah, we'll send you photos of fetuses, dude. If your donations at preborn.com/Charlie using the promo code BABY will get us to send you photos of fetuses. That's crazy. Anonymous, thank you for the 10 gifted. Blue Pop Ice, thank you for the 5 gifted. Once again, the Piker Broadcasting Service is for you and by you. Your voluntary Your voluntary donations in the form of a subscription allow the Piker Broadcasting Service to maintain its editorial independence, and it allows the Piker Broadcasting Service to be ad-free. Thank you.
Baby, or visit preborn.com/Charlie. That is preborn.com/Charlie, sponsored by Preborn. To elaborate on this a little bit further, to lance the boil that tried to impale him, President Donald Trump thinks that if someone is talking about this, they're going against him. And I can understand why he thinks that way, because in Trump 1.0, so many people jumped ship and went aboard the Mueller investigation. So many people jumped off of the Trump movement and thought that Trump was done because of Russia, Russia, Russia. And President Donald Trump clawed himself.
That's not even true. That literally did not happen. Who the jumped ship? Open presents. Thank you for the 10 gifted. Just curious, what are your financial ties, if you have any? Are you funded purely from subs, ads, sponsors, etc.? Genuinely wondering. What do you think? I don't even run ads. No, it's entirely a subscription-based model. What financial ties do you have? Also, if I'm a dishonest broker, why would I ever reveal that? Like, why would I ever reveal that? Every now and then I'll do a sponsor stream from like Ubisoft or whatever, but that's it. Everything is also public. Fair point. No, I was just wondering. It makes me like you even more. Well, I'm glad that you like me. Yeah, I've been sponsored by Marvel Rivals before too, but that's a Chinese company, so that's fair play.
Out of it. He climbed himself out of it.
Yeah, I'm sponsored by Woke. That's what I'm sponsored by. I'm sponsored by Big Woke, okay? That's who sponsors my
to barely be able to.
You support the capitalists at Amazon and now Ubisoft? Yes.
To survive after all of the deep state attacks. And Trump is getting wins, and we should be talking about them. The president is very fired up here also because this was all done under this, almost all of the documents and all of the reporting around this was done during James Comey. It was done back in 2007 under George W. Bush. This has been thrown upon his desk. And I'm going to defend the president here on one key thing. He does have a right to be a little bit skeptical and paranoid. And I'm going to try to translate part of the Truth Social as to what I think.
Bro, 11 minutes for like 11 minutes, and he still hasn't even like gotten into the meat of it. Amazing. Fell for it again award. What is this? For the sake of women and children, Trump must win, says Seth Dillon, Babylon Bee's very own Seth Dillon. This probably wasn't the best way to handle a hoax.
Would be the best way to resonate with you. After all of the different...
Hasan, there's a rumor going on that you're sponsored by Steak in the background. Is this true? What do you think? What do you think? Source, I made it up. I gamble my mental health in this chat every day. Me too. Yeah. Hidden sponsorship. The best, like saying I'm sponsored by Steak is like saying I'm sponsored by the Republican Party. You know what I mean? Like I'm actively antagonistic towards this supposed sponsor of mine that I've never actually even flashed the name of. The only time I even talk about it is when I'm railing against it. Yeah, sponsored by Steak, promo code Hasan to get your first $100 in cryptocurrencies free.
Ways they've tried to take out President Trump. He's saying, guys, they could have put a stink bomb in the quote unquote files that will make.
Oh my God, brother, what the? Oh yeah, Trump is just really scared because he's been hurt before by the deep state. So he's just scared that like the deep state actually put a stink bomb in the Epstein files to make Trump look bad, you know, by saying he's directly affiliated with Jeffrey Epstein in ways that maybe is even more meaningful than we previously thought.
Me look bad. Honestly, that paranoia is not totally unfounded. On the other side, this is what I'm telling the president, both privately and publicly, is that the base cares about this, not to get you. The base cares about this, not to try to take you out. The base cares about this because they have your back. The base cares about this because they have your best interests at heart. The base cares about this because...
I love that he writes this stuff down and he has to like glance down to read it. It's just, it adds to the dishonesty, like the overarching dishonesty of his commentary. Like, and also this is him, bro. This could have been a text message to Donald Trump. This could be a phone call to Donald Trump. Like, you're saying this to him. So why don't you just say this to him in private?
Because we are defending you. And it's not so much about that we care about the person of Jeffrey Epstein. We do care about the victims. But it's not so much that the person of Jeffrey Epstein is a hyper focus. Instead, it is not the person of Jeffrey Epstein, which the president, he's communicating here as if we are obsessed with the creep, the pervert, and the evil, demonic, satanic activity of Jeffrey Epstein. No, we are actually interested in who was he an agent of? Were the same people that were behind Butler, Pennsylvania, the same people that were behind the Russia hoax, were they also the ones that were pulling the strings of Jeffrey Epstein? The same people that were around COVID? We think these are the same actors. But first, here's the breaking, promising news. John Solomon, 352.
You did inform him that they're thinking about appointing a special counsel on this to take over this entire investigation.
Yeah, and he said, I think it's a good approach. Let's just do it. Let's get the trust of the American people. Let's get accountability, and then let's focus on the things that matter.
So he's on board with the situation of getting a special prosecutor and having the Epstein situation put into that, so that can be formally looked at.
Anything legitimate that should be looked at.
And really in a criminal context.
He volunteered it, by the way, Steve. You know, I ask about the special, but he immediately volunteers, and then I follow up on it. But he immediately brings up Epstein. Like, just throw that in. Let's get it all answered. I got nothing to hide. I want truth, and I want prosecutions, and I just want the justice system to take care of what needs to be taken care of. It was really a remarkable moment.
It's a phenomenal clip, and I would say Ed Martin as the deep state prosecutor would be a perfect person. Throw Epstein in there, throw the 2020 election there. Why does that matter? And this is why I think we're actually more in agreement than the back and forth here.
How do you think Trump's going to get away with it this time? He's not. I don't think he's going to get away with this. I think he's just going to like do some crazy to try to get people not to pay attention to it. But the more they move in this direction, the more it feels like look at this. Look, Donald Trump fired Maureen Comey, who was the key prosecutor in the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell cases. Like everything that they're doing is just like making people more invested in this. It's crazy. Every step the Trump administration has taken on the Epstein issue so far makes them look more suspicious. If you were sponsored by your haters, you would have Jeff Bezos' money, Hasan. Yeah. Once people know you are the Sith, there is no pretending to be the Jedi. You cannot hide this kind of evil. That's crazy. Breaking news today, the DOJ fired Maureen Comey from the United States Attorney Office in the Southern District of New York. She's the daughter of the former disgraced FBI Director James Comey. This comes 2 months after my pressure campaign on Pam Bondi to fire Comey's daughter and Comey's son-in-law from the DOJ. Maureen Comey's husband is Lucas Isaac Haroff. As I previously reported, he works with the current Trump DOJ despite a long history of being a Trump hater. He is the assistant U.S. attorney in SDNY, working the civil division since 2019. No word yet on whether or not he was also fired today, but he should be. +1 for Blondie today. Who is Laura Loomer, and why does she have this kind of leverage? She may or may not have sucked Trump's ugly, at least judging by the way that Donald Trump talks about Laura Loomer. She's a fiery person. She's a free spirit. She's a free spirit. Laura does what Laura will. Laura Loomer, my queen. She's a free spirit. How do you know it's ugly? Come on, dude. Does Trump resemble the type of person that has a nice looking? Does anything about the way he carries himself give you the vibes of a man with a nice looking?
The reason the base cares about this, again, is because we believe Epstein was an agent of the people that tried to kill Trump and try to destroy Trump's first term. President Trump thinks, though, the people caring about Epstein are part of the people that have been trying to ruin him prior. That's where I think we're actually more in harmony here. And I'm not just saying this as, trying to cope or run cover. Because President...
it's just a simple misunderstanding when he said everyone that cares about this is stupid. It was just a misunderstanding. I got it. My bad, Charlie. Thanks, man. This will surely work. This will surely work. Except, no, the won't, dumbass.
Donald Trump is obviously okay with appointing a special prosecutor. Simultaneously, he's fired up about people. He thinks that some people are trying to use this to hurt him. We're trying to use this to save him. not save him, but to try to protect him. I don't want to say save him, but maybe save him from another deep state coup attempt. So President Donald Trump is in a active posture right now. He is in a place of where he is looking for threats on the horizon. Who can blame him? Play cut 353.
Operated the auto pen, had a policy, which is, by the way, I think the biggest scandal. That's the scandal they should be talking about, not Jeffrey Epstein.
Will you ask Attorney General Pam Bondi to release more documents to finally put this controversy to bed?
Yeah, whatever's credible, she can release. If a document is credible, if a document's there that is credible, she can release. I think it's good. But it's just really, it's just a subject. He's dead. He's gone, and. All it is the Republicans, certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook. And no different than Russia, and all the other hoaxes. They're started by the Democrats, and some Republicans, in this case I was surprised, but they got duped.
Okay, I think he's talking about people on Capitol Hill. He might be talking about Speaker Johnson here that are calling for special investigation or Ghislaine Maxwell, something like that. But we're all talking about the same thing in different ways. Knowing this from privately and public conversations, this is not that hard of a code to crack. The president says, "Why are you so focused on the person of Epstein? We're doing all this amazing stuff. This guy's a creep. I kicked him out of my club. I don't know. Why are you so fired up about this?" Where our counter is, we're actually not that interested in the person of Jeffrey Epstein. We're not. What we are interested in.
Why does he keep saying that? No, we are interested. What the why does he keep saying, we're not that interested in the Jeffrey Epstein, the person? It's why does he keep angling it like that? It's weird. No, man, people are interested in what he did and who he did it with. That's precisely what people want to know. Oh my God.
Interesting in, was he a representative of the shadow government? We all want to focus on the president's big wins happening right now, on things that matter for all 340 million Americans. And he's doing an awesome job of that. And he is. And the emphasis is not, it's all about the person of Jeffrey Epstein. The reason why the grassroots is mad, and the reason why you guys are fired up about this, and the reason why you guys are emailing me, freedom@charliekirk.com, is you say, no, Mr. President, this guy is a way, it is a skeleton key. It's a chance for us to look under the hood. It's a chance for us to say, whoop, this is the thread. Thank you. The deep state made a mistake. They were sloppy. They were messy. How did Epstein die? Where did he get his financing from? Was he a representative of a foreign government? Everything.
Which foreign government would that be, Charlie? Charlie, remember, is broaching on big no-no territory here. Okay? Even making inferences to Jeffrey Epstein being an agent of a foreign government, which is, of course, we all know which government that is. They're not talking about Zimbabwe, okay? They're talking about Israel, dog. That's what they're talking about, okay? And that is a major no-no for any Republican. Even NPR calls the Mossad theory anti-Semitic law. Exactly. NPR is like, guys, the multiple former prime ministers of Israel were hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein because they love his vibes, okay? Please don't say that there was any involvement with intelligence. It was because of the vibes alone. What are you saying? They just really loved he was incredible company at cocktail hour.
We look at Epstein as an introductory story to all of the other elements that tried to take you out. It's not that we are obsessed with some people are online. They're very into who Epstein was personally. There's been plenty of documentaries about that. That's not what is animating this. That's not what's firing a lot of people up in this audience. Don't get too fired up about the Truth Social and President Trump ranting and venting about this. And let me tell you why. It's that President Donald Trump went through an entire first term. He went through an entire term where people were constantly turning on him for fake stuff. Constantly turning on him.
I mean, he didn't always hang out with the rich and powerful on account of the pedophilia. Real question. Yet. No, I don't. Didn't he always hang out with the rich and powerful on the account of pedophilia? Real question. No, he wasn't literally doing pedophilia every time there was a rich and powerful person around him. Okay. I'm I don't think that. And I don't think every single person because he had adult victims that he trafficked as well. My point is, we want evidence as to what the involvement was with all of these other people who definitely did engage in illicit behavior, especially considering that many of them were openly hanging out with him after he had already been arrested for sex trafficking of minors one time and went to prison for sex trafficking of minors. So especially the people that hung out with him after, before and after being the most significant part of this. Like post early 2000s when he goes to jail with a sweetheart plea deal, the people that still hung out with him after that happened, clearly there's got to be a level of like awareness there.
And so he says, wait a second, like he basically thinking he knew Jeffrey Epstein. He got in a big fight with Jeffrey Epstein. He kicked him out of his club. He's mistrustful of all of these different elements here. At the same time, the message that I want the president to hear, both privately and publicly, is that you in the grassroots, the emphasis and the focus on this is, partly because of all the kind of back and forth of, is it up, is it down? Also, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, I guess you could call it.
He's so woke. He's saying Trump's got PTSD.
But I think part of this is just a messaging misunderstanding. And again, emails are flooded.
Oh my God. Who's he talking to? At first I thought this was a message to Trump. Now I'm thinking this is just a message to himself. Like he just keeps reiterating it over and over and over again. He just keeps repeating this over and over again because he wants to believe the lies that he is telling.
In right now, supportive of the way that we are articulating it.
Yeah, and right, dude. No shot.
That's where John Solomon says we're going to get a special prosecutor on this. I think it's phenomenal. What I'm going to say to the president, if I see him soon or if we talk on the phone, or I'll say the same thing on the show. There's no private agenda here. Is that, Mr. President, the emphasis on Epstein is truly the best intentions of your most loyal followers, where we're not trying to score points with the CNNs or the New York Times. It's truly because we care about you. It's because we want what's best for the presidency. And one of the core campaign promises that I know...
I hope this is a real wake-up call for at least some of the Republicans that, the people that they thought were, independent actors are very clearly not, okay? Charlie and many others actually realized this. That's why they're trying to play this, wishy-washy, both sides narrative where it's oh, well, President Trump, when he called you stupid, he didn't mean it. These guys only care about proximity to power. That's it. They don't care about your wishes. They don't care about your interests. They've lied to you about every single thing up until this moment. And hopefully this division for many of the right-wingers will be a moment of awareness that when they tell you, if they're lying about this in such an obvious way, what else have they lied to you about is a question you should be asking yourself. If you're a right-winger and you're watching me right now and you're like, oh, I hate this commie, this piece of shit. Whatever, normally I got a brave truth teller that I lean on, and these guys seemingly maybe they up a little bit here. Implying Republicans have any capacity for any self-awareness, I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to discourage people from seeking out the truth, especially considering that there are plenty of former Republicans in this chat. This community is comprised of many people that did not agree with me initially. My position in American politics is unfortunately very unique, okay? It's not a position that you get to hear, especially without any sort of severe limitations or any sort of negative lens. The things that I believe, I think if people watched and listened to charitably, many more would be in agreement with. There are a lot of people who probably came in here and were initially Republicans or even the alt-right, and have slowly but surely chipped away at that kind of that worldview that they previously had. See, I was a hate watcher review. Now I don't even know how long I've been subbed. 36 month subscriber. But don't you think the left would have done the same like we saw earlier? It doesn't matter who's in power. They all lie, apparently. Yeah, no. My point is, first of all, they're not the left. That's the Democratic Party. This is a totally separate thing from the left. If you want to see a figure that is representative of actual leftist politics, look at the way the Democrats have been treating him so far. Zohran Mamdani is a great example of a person who is a leftist. there are people who have historically been on the left who have also been forced to capitulate, forced to concede, forced to basically play the role of a shepherd for the Democratic Party as well from time to time. If all Charlie Kirk cares about is proximity to power, why doesn't he appease Dems when they're in power? What do you mean? His entire his entire livelihood is about keeping the Republicans in power, proximity to power on the Republican side. He is, in a way, no different than like, let me think. Like, who is the equivalent of the Democratic Party? Like an MSNBC commentary person, you know what I mean? Like, or like a Jake Tapper almost at CNN, a Van Jones at CNN. Like, Van Jones is not going to suck up to the Republicans, right? Or a Matt Iglesias is not going to suck up to the Republicans, at least now, but they will do the sucking to the Democrats. Like, they've picked a side, and they're a loyal servant of said side, and they will very rarely separate themselves from that side. The independent media version for the Democratic Party of this is like a Harry Hassan or an Olivia Giuliana or people like that, or Hutch, even though they're not even like directly related to the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party doesn't want anything to do with them because they're more old school than the Republicans are. Republicans do rely on like independent media as a ecosystem, as opposed to the Democrats that haven't until this election cycle, and now they're going to probably try to find a bunch of people who are on board and loyal servants. Yeah, look, this is what I mean. Look,
I'm done.
Here is a Democrat hatchet man. Okay, Van Jones, a servant of the elite. This is his role. His role is to basically defend Israel. His role is to defend the billionaires. His role is to on the real left. Okay, look, let's hear.
It would do a lot better if you clean up some of the anti-Jewish stuff that he said or anti-Israel stuff that he said. He's got to get away from globalizing the intifada and stuff like that that's scaring the crap out of the Jewish community in New York. But if he can clean some of that sort of stuff up, he's got a real clear shot. And I think the other thing,
like, it's so funny to say this when Zohran Mamdani won a resounding victory without capitulating even a little bit to the pro-Israel crowd. He just said, nah, that, he didn't give him an inch. So why should he listen to you? Why should he listen to you now after he's won? This is the time when he's not supposed to listen to you at all. Like, we saw that this theory that they tried to unleash upon Zohran Mamdani in the primaries failed. So why should he turn around and just be like, oh yeah, you're right, actually.
about Cuomo is, he didn't run a race. He just, leaned on the unions, leaned on the big donors, ran a bunch of crappy TV ads and thought he was just going to get it. Mamdani actually ran a race. And so you're going to see, I don't care who you are in this party, you're going to have to go out there and earn it from this Democratic Party.
Yes, I know Alaska's about to get slammed. There was a massive earthquake that happened off the Alaskan coast. Breaking news, water is now receding along the Alaskan coast following the 7.3 earthquake. A clear sign of tsunami is approaching. Residents of Sandpoint, Alaska have been ordered to evacuate immediately. The National Weather Service and U.S. Tsunami Warning Center have issued an urgent alert for all low-lying areas. If you're in the area near Sandpoint, get to higher ground now. Avoid beaches, docks, and harbors. If you can't evacuate, shelter in the upper floors of a sturdy building. Do not wait. Do not return. A tsunami is coming. Time is running out. Wait, someone said the tsunami warning has been canceled? Okay. Never mind. The tsunami advisory is canceled. Some areas may see small sea level changes from Kennedy Entrance to Unimac Pass. That was quick. Downgraded to tsunami advisory. Well, we did it. We did it. I saved Alaska. Probably better safe than sorry. I wouldn't stay. But, to each their own, I guess. The NWS has been on a hot streak of saving people from water-related extreme weather as of late. Not really. Yeah. We will be talking about Zohran Mamdani in a second. Hold on. There's a couple things that I want to...
Let's talk.
There's a couple things related to Epstein that I want to finish off. Look, Charlie is just polishing this off. You know what I mean? Two establishment Dem Titans going at it. I know we got Harry Hassan. Don't worry. We got Harry Hassan, Biden scandal, Gen Z Democrats. Do not worry. We'll be covering that, obviously. I already covered this. The DOJ has fired the Jeffrey Epstein prosecutor. I already mentioned that. Mike Flynn put out an open letter to the Trump administration, QAnon's very own. I'm going to skip that. But here, an unlikely ally has joined the battle. Let's take a look.
Now
this administration is kind of looking like more of what you oppose, that they're covering for the powerful. Now, by the way, I don't believe that that's what this administration is doing. Certainly not to cover for Trump. Those pictures online of him with Epstein and the young girl and the hand, it's fake. I can't show you the picture, and I shouldn't show it to you because it's just going to keep the fakery going. He knew Epstein. He liked Epstein. He partied with Epstein. But he also knew that he was a creep, and he took some private action against him. And I've never seen proof that ties Trump to any of the ugly, disgusting, illegal, and lascivious behavior that Epstein loved.
Dude, it's really funny. Now that his brother got shafted by the voting base of the Democratic Party in the primaries for New York mayor, he's just lost his mind. He already had lost his mind. He already lost his career, hitching his wagon to his brother. Now he's stuck on News Nation. And now he's just like trying to reinvent himself. It's awesome. It's great.
So I actually find Trump's position on Epstein to be pretty reasonable for him. And now
here's Mick Mulvaney.
You said the Jeffrey Epstein scandal would have no political impact at all on Trump's election chances. And you were right about that. It didn't. But it's certainly impacting his presidency. It's divided the MAGA base. Many conservatives are furious with him and his administration. Trump, of course, is a former close friend of Epstein's. They're furious at him for not releasing the Epstein files as he promised he would. Is it because, as Elon Musk has said, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files?
No, absolutely not. He's in the files. A lot of people in the files. This is if there was something in the files that was particularly damning about Donald Trump, the files would have been released by the Biden administration.
No, that's not true. There ain't no way that would happen, actually. There ain't no way that would happen. And the reason why that wouldn't happen is for two reasons. One, because there's plenty of prominent liberals that they don't want to let go of that are in them. Okay. Yo, Hasanabi, you know everything, right? I mean, on this issue, I know as much as you can know. Guilty by association? Really? Really? You're trying to do this? Really? Right now? That's crazy, man. For years and years, I've talked about Bill and Hillary Clinton being involved with the Epsteins and how up this is. And how the Democrats are actually, I'm literally in the process of describing to you why the Democrats haven't released this information when they were in charge. I'm not the partisan here. You are, motherfucker.
Not if it was damning about Bill Clinton as well. Not if it was damning about.
Can I please just, okay.
Yeah, that's the reason. It's because there's about the Clintons in there and many other Democrats as well. And also, even if there wasn't about Bill Clinton and many other Democrats in there, there are obviously a ton of like liberal boosters, liberal donors in there that are directly involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Ones that we do know of, just like we know of the Republicans that are involved, like Alan Dershowitz. And liberals are exactly the type of people that would never release this because they believe in the infallibility of institutions and they think that this would be like too disruptive. If the Trump administration thinks it's too disruptive, then any liberal administration would be far too careful, far too scared to actually reveal any of this information. If it had any ties to Israel, for example, they would never do it. And I say this as someone who didn't think Trump was going to reveal this information either.
If it was really damning about Donald Trump, they would have released at least that part. My guess is, and it's an educated guess.
Yeah, you could say the same about Democrats now. If it was really damning about the Democrats, Trump would release that part. Why is he not releasing it? Because it's the same thing. Mutually assured pedophilia. Mutually assured destruction of pedophilia, okay? It's the mad principle, but for pedophiles. It's the mad principle for illicit sex trafficking. That's it.
Is that it's particularly damning of very important people on both sides of the political aisle, which is why Trump doesn't want to release it and why Biden didn't release it either. If it was just about Trump, it would have come out.
You were the chief of staff when Epstein apparently died by suicide in prison. You were. Yeah, we checked.
So. Yeah.
Trump at the time baselessly suggested that Bill Clinton might have killed him, as he does.
Baselessly?
Okay. You think Bill Clinton might have killed him? Okay. Just checking. I don't know how loyal
Is Bill Clinton on the list?
I mean, you were chief of staff at the time. You didn't come out and correct him, so maybe you do share that insane view.
Not my job.
That literally is your job as chief of staff.
No.
You just said earlier, the chief of staff controls information coming to Donald Trump.
That's crazy.
You told him that Bill Clinton killed him.
It's not the job of the chief of staff to protect, to correct the president of the United States. And as between who knows the job of the chief of staff, you know a lot about a lot. You don't know a lot about.
But you just told me the definition was to protect Donald Trump. So you failed.
The job of the president of the United States is to make sure he gets good information.
And he failed because someone told him that Bill Clinton killed Jeffrey Epstein, and you didn't protect him from that.
Did they tell him?
Yeah, he retweeted a post saying that Bill Clinton could have killed him.
So again,
I mean, you're saying you didn't see any of the video stuff, you weren't involved, this doesn't rise to the level of chief of staff or the White House, and yet you're confidently saying that Elon Musk is wrong and his name's not in the files. How do you know?
I didn't. No, I absolutely didn't. In fact, I think if you go back and look at the tape, I said, I imagine that Donald Trump's name is in the file someplace. There's photographs of them together. Okay. So if there's a file someplace, which I assume there is.
Trump says his name is not in anything. So he's lying.
I could imagine. Why? There'd be photographs of him.
But he said it's not him.
I have no idea.
That wasn't me. I don't know him. Even though I wish Ghislaine well, I said, I wish her well. Her boyfriend was killed or maybe committed suicide. She's having a hard time right now.
I have to imagine his name is on the list someplace. He was a member at Mar-a-Lago. By the way, Trump kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago for being too weird. True story.
I mean, he also said he's a terrific guy who likes younger women. So.
He wishes everybody well. That's Trump. He's just a well-wishing guy.
Jeffries knew.
Oh, here is...
This is how disingenuous that comment was.
What is happening with Twitter today? Here's Bill O'Reilly.
Disingenuous.
Also on News Nation. News Nation is just really popping off with this stuff. If you can't go anywhere on television, you can go on News Nation to defend Trump. and also how he was not connected to Jeffrey Epstein, and there's nothing to see here. Julie K. Brown, fact, Epstein was arrested in 2019. Merrick Garland was not the attorney general. Biden was not president. Trump was president. Bill Barr became attorney general that year. Trump then forced the U.S. attorney who brought the criminal case against Epstein to resign.
Disingenuous that comment was, and this is what infuriates me about these people. Jeffries knew the Biden administration had exactly the same thing the Trump administration has on Epstein. Exactly. Right. Because Epstein was convicted during the Biden administration. Not one time.
Wrong. Trump administration.
Did Hakeem Jeffrey call for any exposition of what the Biden...
Hakeem Jeffries was not even a part of the I don't even think he was a part of the Democratic Party as a congressional representative at the time of his arrest. Not to defend Hakeem Jeffries. Yeah. He was arrested in 2019. Merrick Garland was not the attorney general, and Biden was not the president.
Justice Department knew. Not once.
Look, he's looking at the information. He's like, that's not correct.
So this guy's a top phony, okay? He's a political player. He doesn't care about the truth.
Wait,
he doesn't care about the people.
Hold on. Bill.
This is what
hold on.
he
Hold on. Bill, hold on. You said Epstein was convicted during the Biden administration. Epstein committed suicide during the Trump administration.
Yeah, so?
How is he convicted? How do you convict a guy who's dead?
He was convicted in I believe, okay, under Merrick Garland's Justice Department. That could be. Am I wrong on that?
This guy used to be the #1 Fox News political commentator, Chad. You don't understand. Some of you old heads know this because he bricked your parents' brains. Like half of this chat over the age of 30 has at least one parental figure that lost their minds because of this on the right side of the screen right here, okay? It is mind-boggling. It is crazy that this man, the fall from grace, holy yeah, he was such a prolific sexual assaulter that it was a bridge too far for Fox News, okay? He got fired from Fox News because he couldn't stop himself, okay? He was just a rapacious little monster. Like, think about that. Think about how much rape Fox News allows as a part of the contract, basically, especially for their top talent. And look at him now. I mean, he's got kills. He's got direct kills, okay? We talk about stochastic terrorism now. He has direct kills. He singled out Tiller. What was his name? George Tiller, a doctor. He kept calling him Tiller, the baby killer, every night. And then one of his freak ass fans killed him for doing abortions. Like, that's how much of a powerful propagandist this man was. Never forget falafel. Oh, he loofah. There was some about the loofahs too. Remember when Bill O'Reilly's sex with some lady were leaked and he said he wanted to rub falafel on her? Have sex with Macros in the shower. So anyway, I'd be rubbing your big boobs and getting your nipples really hard, kind of kissing your neck from behind. Then I would take the other hand with the falafel thing, which is a loofah, and I'd put it on your, but you have to do it really light, just kind of a tease business. Yeah, instead he forgot the word loofah because he was so horny, so he said falafel. Wow, what a fall from grace.
I don't think so. And then he was incarcerated, and then he committed suicide. Okay, the suicide thing is bull. I know the New York coroner's office very, very well. There's no way those people in there put a phony report about a suicide. No.
Oh my God.
Way. Impossible. And it's not hard to ascertain whether you committed
Bill,
suicide.
I think this is important. Bill, I think this is important.
He's like, I know the coroner's office really well. You didn't even know what time frame Jeffrey Epstein was convicted.
He was arrested in 2019, and he committed suicide in 2019. He died August 10th of 2019. So the Biden administration was not involved in a conviction or a trial of him. They were in of Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay. And that's a good point of clarification. But he was arrested and indicted under Merrick Garland.
No, under Trump.
Who had all of the information.
Epstein was arrested, indicted, and committed suicide under Trump. In 2019, Trump was president. Merrick Garland was not the attorney general.
Oh, he's so old. Oh, get Bill O'Reilly, you embarrassing charlatan. The only problem with dementia of this kind is that, like, he kind of doesn't even realize he's washed. But I hope he has at least enough mental fortitude to recognize that it's over for him.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Yep, that's Bill O'Reilly. Piece of shit. All right. Oh,
What do you think?
Here's the last update. Trump called into One America News Network before we move on to Zohran Mamdani.
What do you think? What are the things that are most important that you would like to see the FBI get to the bottom of?
I think they could look at all of it. It's all the same scam. They could look at this.
Not OAN, Real America Voice. Sorry, not One America News Network. Real America Voice. So I remember from the first Trump presidency when he's like really down and out, he would call in and do these phone conversation. He would do these like phone conversation media hits, oftentimes in the morning. Like he would call into the morning show on Fox News when he was like really desperate. Okay, when there was like a narrative that he was trying to get ahead of, and he was trying to be everywhere all at once. And it seems like he's doing that right now. And the reason why he's going directly to Real America's Voice is because like this is, one of the more conspiratorial outlets out there. So he's just trying to get ahead of the narrative in the conspiracy slots.
The Jeffrey Epstein hoax also, because that's the same stuff. That's all put out by Democrats.
Yeah.
And, some of the naive Republicans fall right into line like they always do. They just don't have the...
And if it, like, he can't do this with he could probably do this with Charlie Kirk, but I don't think he could do this with Alex Jones right now. Because obviously the outlets are excited to have him. They're excited to have the president call in, right? This gives them a big boost. But there are most of those independent outlets that he could go to, the conspiracy outlets that he could go to, would probably ask a couple questions that would maybe make the situation worse for him. So he's not going to do that right now. Yeah, he's trying to corral the hog, so he's going to Real America's Voice.
They don't have the sustainability. They don't have They don't have that stick to it like glue. The Democrats, they have bad policy. They have bad candidates. They have bad everything. But they stick together. The Republicans don't do that. But they ought to look into the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, too, because that's another hoax.
Yeah, he keeps saying hoax, but he doesn't explain what the hoax is, by the way, which is really funny.
That's frankly put out by the pushing the Republicans and put out by the Democrats.
No, they definitely set the Republicans up. One big prosecutor look at it all. Would that make you feel good, you think?
Well, I think it's in the case of Epstein, they've already looked at it, and they are looking at it, and I think all they have to do is put out anything credible. But, that was run by the Biden administration for 4 years. I can imagine what they put into files, just like they did with the others. I mean, the Steele dossier was a total fake.
Right.
They took 2 years to figure that out for the people. And all of the things that you mentioned were fake. Yep. So I would imagine if they were run by Chris Wray and they were run by Comey, and because it was actually even before that administration, they've been running these files. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me. But especially, you look at that Steele dossier where they paid like 14 or 16 million. That's more than James Patterson gets paid to do a #1 bestseller.
Isn't that crazy?
And the thing turned out to be a total scam. So frankly, I think I love that they're looking at all this stuff. If they are, I hope they are.
Yeah, we've definitely confirmed it. They definitely are.
Mr. President, this is something that could give the American people answers on 3 different elections, 2016, 2020, and 2024. But to get that rolling, there are 2 sets of documents that are key to identifying possible conspiracy. But a grand jury can't see them unless you declassify them. Would you declassify the classified annex in the Hillary Clinton email case, as Senator Grassley has been asking?
Well, I would do that. I would do that, absolutely. I think it should be looked at. The whole thing was a scam.
Yeah.
And I would do that gladly.
Great. And there's one other one I want to mention. In the Durham report, they talk about the Clinton plan intelligence, the intercept where Hillary Clinton approves hanging that Russian shingle on your campaign house. That's another one that hasn't yet been declassified. Was that another one you'd consider declassifying?
I would declassify it, yeah. Why?
This is why he went on here, so they could talk about like all the other conspiracies, to cast a cloud of dispersion. Didn't Alan Dulles start the blackmail honeypot CIA operations? Like, there's so much evidence at this point. It's insane to call this a conspiracy theory at this point. Yes. He said so much of what they put in was fake with me. Oh, that's what he's saying is fake.
The Steele dossier was a total. In the case of Epstein, they've already looked at it, and they are looking at it, and I think all they have to do is put out anything credible. But, that was run by the Biden administration for 4 years. I can imagine what they put into files, just like they did with the others. I mean, the Steele dossier was a total fake.
Right.
They took 2 years to figure that out for the people. And all of the things that you mentioned were fake. Yeah. So I would imagine if they were run by Chris Wray and they were run by Comey, and because it was actually even before that administration, they've been running these files. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me. But especially, you look at that Steele.
Oh, yeah, he's saying the things that are related to me, they're fake. Yeah. All the stuff that are about me, the things that are about me in the files is fake. Okay, well, that's enough confirmation that, like, now we know why. Now we know why he doesn't want to release the files, All right, big dog.
Because there was a...
Some Republicans break with the White House on Epstein files. Just release the files, Tom Tillis says.
Maybe somebody was wrong. Maybe they embellished a little bit about what was in the contents of the file. Apologize for it. Get this off the table. It's sucking up too much oxygen. And we all deserve that. We all should know.
Let's go to Sahil Kapoor live for us on Capitol Hill. Okay, Sahil, so the president wants Republicans to basically move on. He's making that really clear, even by putting himself at arm's length from some of his own core supporters inside the MAGA movement. He wants them to move on.
One of the funniest things that has taken place is that Tom Tillis got so many death threats from Deborahs and the Barbaras that he quite literally, tried to tank Trump's bill, failed to do so, but he still voted against it, and is now retiring. So when someone tells you, oh, your voice doesn't matter, okay, it turns out it absolutely does, especially if that voice is a voice of a Deborah or a Barbara, okay? If it's the voice of a Hank who has the raspy voice of like a 65-year-old veteran, okay? It turns out when you're getting a flood of death threats from people who are so oblivious and so perfectly confident in their position that they are revealing what their home address is while issuing an active death threat to a sitting congressperson, turns out that does have an impact.
Will they?
That has not been happening so far, to put it mildly, Hallie. This issue is getting sustained attention in MAGA world from conservative influencers and in the so-called manosphere, podcasters who have a high volume of listeners and who supported Donald Trump in the last election. It's being met there with a mix of disapproval, criticism, even mockery in some cases. Now, Trump is usually good at redirecting attention when he comes under fire, tending to pin the blame elsewhere. Let's take a look at what he's saying this time around.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net.
Now, this claim, Hallie, is not landing well with Trump's own base. Many of them are emotionally invested in this idea that Trump, if elected, would expose a giant conspiracy surrounding the Epstein files. And his campaign did fuel that perception. These figures, these voters are not ready to let that go at this point. Now, they tried first doing what, is part of the MAGA playbook. When this sort of thing happens in the administration, they found someone else to blame. They tried blaming AG Pam Bondi. Then Trump came out with his guys and gals social media post defending Bondi, which made clear that she was ultimately acting on his behalf. One thing we're seeing now on Capitol Hill, a new effort by Congressman Tom Massey, who has had a frosty relationship, let's say, with Donald Trump, saying he's introducing a discharge petition to force the issue of the release of the Epstein files. He says, quote, "We all deserve to know what's in the Epstein files, who's implicated, and how deep this corruption goes. Americans were promised justice and transparency," unquote. What does this mean? It's essentially a way to get around House Republican leadership and force this to a vote. You need a majority of the House, so only a handful of Republicans if all Democrats end up supporting it. He already has at least one Republican co-sponsor to sign the discharge petition. That is Marjorie Taylor Greene, a staunch ally in almost every other case of Donald Trump, siding with Tom Massey in opposition effectively to the administration's position here, Hallie.
So we're watching that on Capitol Hill. And then in sort of the political ecosystem, if you will, there's this question of when the president puts his own MAGA supporters, some of them at arm's length, how do they respond, right? Like, is that going to have a political impact? It's probably too soon to say, although there are some new numbers, Saho, that maybe give us an early snapshot.
Why is he not dropping Pam Bondi? Good question. Probably because it's already really difficult to get any sort of appointment at this point passed through Congress. And number two, Pam Bondi can't be just a fall guy, because the real issue here is not Pam Bondi. The real issue is Trump doesn't want to release these files. That's it. Like, what makes you think that it's actually Pam Bondi that's a genuine hurdle in front of the release of these files? Pam Bondi is a Trump loyalist through and through. When Pam Bondi says, like, "Oh, I'm not going to release this shit," like, or there's nothing in it, nothing to see here, that's because Trump told her to say that. So what? You're going to get a new attorney general, already difficult to pass through this Congress, especially now. There's a lot of attention on this. Okay, fine. You got a new attorney general. Sure. What's that new attorney general going to do? They're going to ask the same questions to them. Is he just going to keep firing attorney generals over and over again? Keep burning through attorney generals? Because ultimately, it's not up to the AG. It's up to the president.
Yeah, that's right. This shows that even President Trump's influence over the MAGA base is finite. This new Quinnipiac poll shows overall how the country feels about his handling of the Epstein file.
17%, dude. The fact that this is not even at 30 implies that there are at least half of Trump's loyalists are off the boat on this.
Just 17% approve, 63% disapprove. Now, the approval number is so low because among Republicans, it breaks about even between approval and disapproval, which is highly unusual.
Told you. Yeah. Under normal circumstances, Republicans would be at like 75, 80%, right? This is the first time you're seeing 17%.
Generally, Trump gets very high approval rating from self-identified Republicans. And this Quinnipiac poll, Hallie, also shows that more than half of Republicans say they are following this issue of the Epstein files very or somewhat closely. It has escaped velocity.
That's the funniest thing, is that like Republicans care more about this than Democrats do, which is why you're seeing that 50-50 point swing here. But in any case, make no mistake, there is unprecedented opportunity to drive a wedge within the base of support for MAGA, but seemingly the Democrats will fail to capitalize on that. Let's see.
The bottom line is this. Democrats are behind their 2006 and 2018 paces when it comes to the generic congressional ballot. What are we talking about here? All right, the Democrats versus the Republicans on the generic congressional ballot, the margins. Look at where we are now. Democrats are ahead, but by just 2 points. Look at where Democrats were already ahead by in 2017. They were behind by 7 points. How about 2005 on the generic congressional ballot? Ahead by 7 points, ahead by 7 points. And now they're only ahead by 2 points. Their lead is less than half of where it was in either 2017 or 2005 in July of those years, the year before.
Holy Toledo!
For the midterm election. Yes, Donald Trump may be unpopular, but Democrats have not come anywhere close to sealing the deal at this particular point.
Yeah, wave looks very different.
Yes.
All right.
One of the biggest Trump writers I know has finally drawn the line in this. Took it pretty hard. Changed his PFP to an all-black circle. 36 years old. Dude, the bigger of a writer you are, of Donald Trump, the more you care about this. I just want the UFO files. You a fair assessment, dude. I appreciate it. I was agreeing. No harm. The more you care about the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, because you like Trump, because you thought he was like an anti-establishment figure. You deluded yourself into thinking that he was going to be the elite pedophile deep state destroyer.
This is the generic ballot test. This is when you test people in a generic question. Of course, the House races aren't generic. There are 435 of them. What happens when you go race by race?
What happens when you go race by race? Well, it's the same idea. Okay, House seat ratings with the GOP president, like back in 2005 and, of course, 2017. More net pickup seat chances. Well, last time around, look at that. Democrats were ahead by 33 seats. How about in 2005? Democrats were ahead by 7 seats. What's going on right now? It's actually Republicans. Actually, Republicans with more net pickup chances at plus 12, according to the Cook Political Report, when you add in the likelies, the leans, and the toss-up races. So it's not just on the generic ballot where Democrats are behind their 2017 and 2005 pace. It's actually when it comes seat by seat, you see that, at least at this particular point, Republicans actually have more net pickup opportunities. This doesn't look anything like.
Thank you for the 100 gifted subs. Holy Toledo. Open Presents sponsoring the Piker Broadcasting Service all the way from the beautiful, glorious nation of Qatar.
Those wave elections back in 2006 or 2018.
If it doesn't look anything like those years, what does it look like?
Okay, so what does it look like? Well, let's take a look back at the generic congressional ballot. What was going on in Ipsos in October of 2024? Democrats were ahead by 2 points. Look at where we are now. Democrats ahead by 2 points among registered voters.
Yeah, the reason why the Trump failures are not translating to positive benefits for the Democrats on the generic ballot is because it's the same ass Democrats. It's also the same reason why Trump's approval ratings will dip to a certain degree, but will stay fairly consistent and won't go past the point because 80% of the base will hold on to Donald Trump, with the exception of the Epstein stuff, right? Whereas the reason why the Democrats have lower approval ratings than the Republicans right now is because at least there are people who like the Republicans within the base of support for the Republican Party, but there is no one in the base of support for the Democrats that like the Democrats. This is the identical thing that was happening in the election cycle leading up to Biden's swap out, where I kept repeating over and over again, the polls show people don't want Biden, polls show people don't want Biden consistently for years. And then they swapped him out for Kamala. And Kamala actually enjoyed tremendous popular support because they had actually listened to the wishes of the public. It was one of those unique instances where the public wishes and the wishes of the base of the real constituents, the donor class, were in line with one another. They were aligned. There is no one that wants business as usual politics in the Democratic Party. It's that simple.
This particular point, this election cycle looks a lot more like 2024 than it does than either 2018 or 2006. And so, of course, Republicans actually held onto the House back in 2024. Will it happen this time around? We'll just have to wait and see. But for anyone who's writing the Republican House's political obituaries, hold the phone. This is a reality check. Republicans are still very much in the game.
Area, and that'll be quite a reality check, I think, for a lot of Democratic voters.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bro, I keep trying to move away from the Epstein stuff, and you guys keep bringing me back in. It's crazy. Les Wexner, the former Jeffrey Epstein associate and chairman emeritus of the holding company that owned the Limited, L brand, Abercrombie & Fitch, Victoria's Secret, and other major brands, is the new owner of Blue Heron Farm in Martha's Vineyard. Blue Heron Farm is the property of the Obamas, rented for several years during the summers. While they were in the White House, the billionaire purchased a home from the family architect Norman Foster. Stop it. Bro, I'll never forget that night when she said the most lethal military after you got kicked out and our entire world came crumbling down. I had suspicions that Kamala Harris was not going to be even present herself as like a progressive beacon. But all of that was solidified after that night, the last night of the DNC. That's when I was like, it's over. It's done. You can go back and watch my commentary when I listened to her speech the last night of the DNC. Every single thing I reported on there came true.